Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 88 of Floating Through Film. This week, we conclude our Bresson series, sadly, but not sadly, with two of maybe my favorite movies, as I guess we're doing at the end of this episode, ranking. Okay. I'm being forced against my will.
Yes, sir.
To rank.
We're making him. We're tying him up.
It'll be a tiered list, though. It'll be a tiered list for me, probably.
Weak.
But we'll see in that.
Coward.
That these, okay, I'll just say it. These are two of my favorite. These will be in the very top tier. And especially, like, you guys, I've probably brought up L'Argent a few times throughout this podcast.
Oh, you've seen it like 8 times, I feel like.
No, 7th. I think this was my 7th.
Okay, yeah. Basically, you get the point.
Yeah, you're basically right, yeah.
Like, there's a time, I remember, it felt like every other week you were watching L'Argent. Like, there was a time we were doing that.
Yeah. I don't remember what that was.
I just remember it happening. Like, it's like, damn, watching L'Argent again. Like, what a surprise.
I mean, can you blame me, though?
Honestly, I can't blame you.
Only 80-something minutes, I think.
That's so nice.
Like, flows so well. Like, yeah, honestly, I can't.
Okay.
But not gonna lie, I saw The Devil Probably at like over 90, and I was like, Bresson.
Yeah, no, honestly, even I had that. I had that thought for a split second. I was like, damn, 91.
Oh, I can't wait to get the Cassavetes, and we're gonna like 150. You know?
No, because because we're doing Cassavetes next.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Have you said you haven't said them?
I think I mentioned it.
You might have. But
hey, announcement. But yeah.
No. But yeah, to conclude Bresson, we are doing The Devil Probably, that came out in 1977, and L'Argent, that came out in 1983. Is there anything general, because there are a lot of similarities between these two movies, for sure. Maybe, like, especially for me thematically, but yes. Is there any general things that just come up to you just at first?
Between these two movies?
Yeah, just what comes first to mind after watching these two?
Pessimistic, I guess, maybe.
Okay. Right.
It's at least that's my reaction to it. I don't know if they're inherently pessimistic. I need to think about it more and maybe just talk about it, but like, Devil Probably definitely, I think, is more pessimistic. L'Argent, maybe. Although, definitely the ending at surface level feels very, like, pessimistic.
Yes.
But, yeah, like,
two... No, I think that's a good reaction to have, or a fair reaction, anyway.
It's like two men beaten down by society. And
exactly.
This is what the ending of their stories are, basically.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I like that.
Death or just, like, suicide and...
Suicide. I remember we talked about that before, obviously, with Michette and stuff.
But, yeah.
No, because we'll get more specific, I guess. But, no, that's... I like what Blake said, especially, too. Like, two men kind of, like, already beaten down by society. He's like, there's no hope. Like, I like watching L'Argent and comparing it to... Honestly, the two movies I compared it to the most is The Man Escaped and Pickpocket. Like, with those two heroes. Because, like, those heroes have a lot more hope.
The Country Priest?
I can see that too, but it's like almost those two movies have a lot more hope at the end, a way out versus like almost Bresson at the end of his career saying there's like no way out. You know, he's like based on the world he sees. Like, I don't know if he's saying that there is no way out. He's just the world he sees is like he's very more pessimistic about.
Yeah.
So do you guys remember what I said last week? My topic last week, obviously, the presentation versus representation. Yeah. And so this week, it's kind of a continuation of that. So if you remember last week, kind of like I said how, basically, to sum it up, and I'm going to post by the time you hear this episode, you should see those two Money Call videos as well, like him talking about the presentation versus representation and everything. But basically, like, to sum it up a little bit, the presenting of an image is maybe just accepting the literal quality of what you're seeing on screen, as literal as possible, versus being like, okay, this is just a movie, so I know this is not real kind of thing.
Yeah.
Trying to be like almost like showing exactly what the camera's showing, filming. And then, so I kind of ended last week with kind of Money Call's point is, so if you're not representing anything with your images, how do you create meaning for the viewer as they're watching? How do they feel like they are getting some kind of meaning out of it? And the way he said was by like the rhythm of images, basically, or sequence. And so my topic this week is kind of a continuation of that. Is basically what do those rhythm of images create? And my topic this week is Bresson's. You could say this is kind of like Bresson's, as I've read a lot about him over the last couple of months getting ready for the series. Is one of like maybe the central topic for Bresson for me is his idea of the relationship between images is much more important than the images themselves.
Yeah.
So, do you remember last week where I said, Bresson has this quote? I'll just read the quote again. Quote, "No absolute value in an image."
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Where basically, like, an image itself should have nothing of value in itself, you know?
Yeah.
So basically what he's saying there is then the relationship between all the images as a whole is what creates meaning, you know? And what I love about Bresson's movies then is, like, especially with both these movies, like, you feel like you're watching them and you really don't know what could happen next. You always have that feeling that anything could happen next, right?
Yeah.
And because he only wants you to grasp that idea of the relationship between all the images at the very end.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
He only wants you to have that feeling of, it's almost like you don't want to make a judgment on a song until you hear the whole song.
Yeah.
Right? Because like something could change midway the song. Or you might not like the third quote.
Yeah. Because like literally, that's something I was gonna bring up about L'Argent is that when I'm watching a movie, it's a much different feeling than when I'm thinking about like the movie in its entirety.
Yes.
Like, I guess I'll say it now. I think the movie, if you think in the moment, it's like very like, you know, very like kind of depressing, but like also just like very serious. When you think about it, like at the end, like the whole thing, it's like kind of funny, like in a darkly comedic way.
Yes.
Like,
but also
like the chain reaction this thing causes, is like kind of funny.
But to me, it's almost like and this is what the relationship thing is like. You feel this there's a pessimism for sure with the whole movie. You know, he's pessimist toward the world, but at the same time, you feel almost like a pleasure while you're watching it.
Yeah,
you know, because he understands like this rhythm of literally feelings of like at one time you'll feel happy about something a character says or does, and the next moment he'll undercut it.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. One moment you'll see like a death scene or something. And I'll talk about this a few times in L'Argent, and then the next scene, all of a sudden he'll undercut it the other way.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like this rhythm of feelings, you really don't get like because his movies are so. Some people say fast paced. I would say perfectly paced.
Yeah.
This like rhythm of feelings, like kind of almost bouncing one after another. You really don't get that sense of the whole of like what you felt until the very end, or that's what he's going for anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and like to me in my head the best example of that is Mouchette, where like the film really doesn't make sense until after the ending of the movie, basically, where it's like okay, like it literally does not make like you don't see what's happening until the very end. You know, like there's no hints at it or anything before that. Where like let's say in a representational movie, you would probably have a lot of hints of her about to commit suicide before it. You know, where it's like you would get a lot more representation. Like I just said. So let me read a couple quotes from his notes that kind of like get this point across. So, quote: "Cinematographer's film, where expression is obtained by relations of images and of sounds, and not by mimicry done with gestures and intonations of voice. One that does not analyze or explain, that recomposes." And then he has one that mentions colors that I like. Quote: "An image must be transformed by contact with other images as is a color by contact with other colors. A blue is not the same blue beside a green, a yellow, a red. No art without transformation." And then the last one: "From the clash of sequence of images and sounds, a harmony of relationships must be born." I love that last quote because it's like, it does feel like, honestly, exactly, dude, exactly. That's why I'm almost positive he must have been reading Vertov or something. I love you said that. But for me, like, there's a lot of examples of this in Bresson's movies, and I'll point them out, especially with L'Argent. Like, before we get into the movie specifically, I was reading that book called Bresson's Late Visual Style by Raymond Watkins, and he talks a lot about the use of color in L'Argent. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, I've seen it 8 times, and I'm almost just now starting to, like, understand why I feel a certain way when I watch it.
Honestly,
you know, because like he's very specific about how he uses color in there. It's almost great. Like, that's that's probably a certain reason why Dany must have loved him too. You know, even though he liked him when he made black and white movies. Kind of this idea of just like a movie should be about feeling. Like, there's like something going on screen what the viewer thinks they're watching, but if you really think about why you're like feeling a certain way, it's almost everything on screen. Like the colors that you're not even noticing. You know, like where characters are standing in a certain frame. You know, how close the camera is. All that kind of stuff, like that you might not notice the first time you're watching it because you're just paying attention to the story. But that's not really what's giving you the feeling, you know. But one example of that, like I was going to say, is let me read the quote first. Quote: "Two persons looking each other in the eye see not their eyes but their looks." And I love that because like he's almost saying like if you just look at the eyes, that's like looking at the image itself. It's not telling you what you need to know about the person. The look is what tells you their relationship to someone else. Like what they're looking at, why they're looking at that someone else. And a lot of his movies are like that, where like the words really don't make sense, but if you look at who they're looking at, or if they're looking down and stuff, they can tell you more about like what the person's thinking or feeling, more than necessarily the words. But to keep going, because the reason why I brought relations to as that word is like, and because we're finishing Bresson, I thought I would kind of bring this up is like one of the reasons, and I love Bresson for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons I love him the most is there's a lot of similarities I see with him in Indian philosophy that I've read, especially like maybe certain Indian aesthetics too and stuff like. No, he just has a lot of similarities with some of these aspects, and so I just wanted to bring one up today. Because I know Blake has read some about Buddhism too.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the term pratit samipata? Or dependent arising? Or dependent origination, dependent arising?
No, I don't think so.
It's a kind of popular term in Buddhism. It means dependent arising. But basically what it means is... I'll read it. This is from an essay called pratit samipata in early Mahayana Buddhism. I'll read what it means, and you'll see what I mean after I read it. So, quote, in this way, the bodhisattvas contemplate the fact that all creatures in samsara dependently originate. There are no ideas of self and other, of agent and perceiver, of being and non-being. And basically, like, that last point, there are no ideas of self and other, agent and no perceiver, being and non-being. Like, to me, that's almost, like, very similar to when Bresson says there's no value in the image itself. Like, there's no value in, like, what you're seeing. And really what this whole point is like, basically, in this idea of pratisambhata or dependent arising, is the idea of what you see originates from something else, right? It already has relationships to other things. Yeah. And that's kind of like what I've been talking about with Bresson's whole idea of what he says. Like, when you see a person, what you're seeing is not the whole thing, right? That person has, like, depths hidden that we don't even know, and, like, past that we don't perceive, all this kind of stuff. And so that's one word. The other word is called dharmadhatu, and it literally means domain of reality. But I'll read what it actually means. What he says in the essay is, quote, Dharmadhatu has come to represent the universe as completely correlative, generally interdependent and mutually originated. It is stated that there is no single being that exists independently. And, like, that feels like something Bresson would say, like literally. Like, I even... Sure. Do you remember that quote in Diary of a Country Priest? Where he says something similar? I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
No, I do. That's why I was saying, like, Largent reminded me of Diary of a Country Priest a lot, because you take the quote that... I'm assuming you're talking about the quote where he says, if we knew
I have the quote
everything that we did, like, we wouldn't be able to live with it. Like, that's what the lady says.
Because the lady says, you never get through the day if you dwelt on such thoughts. And he says, I believe that, madam. I believe God gave us a clear idea of how closely we are bound to each other in good and evil. We truly could not live.
Yeah, because Largent is just like, you're watching that story, basically, of, like, what this, like, thread did to, like, this one man. Like, you're following the thread, basically.
Yes, exactly. And this is why I get, like, certain Buddhist ideas with Bresson when I watch his movies, is because this is a core idea with Buddhism, is, like, we really can't see all the relationships in the moment that we're in, like I said, all the universe is mutually interdependent in ways that we can't see, like I've kind of been saying, and that's why I love Largent, because it's like, because the Buddhist idea is like, once you understand these ideas, you should have compassion for the universe, right?
Yes.
And to me, that's what Largent is about at the end of the day, is like, yes, it's a pessimistic movie, and both these movies, honestly. But Bresson, when he shows them with no judgment, which is what I love the most about it. It's like he is showing this, like, world that, like, none of the characters in it really see how much related they are to each other. Like, one character kind of fucks over another character, but they don't see how badly they're fucking over the other character. And all this stuff. It's almost like we're watching this, and it's like, at the end of the day, like, we can't do anything but just watch. So it's almost like, for me, it makes you want to have compassion in a way, like, for the world. For even all types of people, This
is a point where we were trying to do with cast studies, because that's a big part of cast studies.
Yeah,
that's it.
Like, why? Like,
empathy, like, just empathy for the characters, and, like, basically, it's like, no matter what, like, how, like, basically understanding that nobody's perfect and that everyone is like their like flaws and he never wants to take like a cheap shot at anybody because generally that they're just human after all. Like
no,
but
because I know you mentioned like how Cassavetes likes to film the body too. Both of them, both of these directors like to a lot, and to me that's what's beautiful about Bresson is it's not only he's showing the pessimistic sides, right? Because it's like that would be depressing. Like there's a certain obviously there's depressing moments in their movies, both of them. But to me, like why I find them so exciting to watch and why they're hopeful in a way is like, yes, they're just showing how they see the world as depressing, but they're also almost like giving us clues to see see people differently. You know, to like how to watch people's bodies and stuff. Yeah. Like I've mentioned a few times, like you notice Bresson's characters when they do their eyes light up because it doesn't happen that often. Yeah. You know, but it's like I've noticed now just in general when people's eyes do light up, there's always something behind it. Yeah. You know, there's always like that's like a natural. It's like an automatic reaction, like Bresson.
Sounds like people like fake really.
Yes, like, exactly. Yeah. You don't fake that exactly. Because we even see that once in The Devil Probably, where like Michelle is about to leave. Like it's the two guys. Yeah. And the other guy's about to leave the main character that commits suicide. Yeah. And he almost like tells him to stop the same way he does in Pickpocket. And I just like noticed that. But it's like stuff like that, and that's kind of why like there are certain movies that when they have this like kind of presentational aspect to them, where they kind of let you watch them this way. You know, where you can kind of pay attention. They're like asking you to pay attention closely. You know, but to me that's why. You know, it's almost like so you can kind of take these same ideas and apply them to real life or other ways to view other things. You know, because I know Tati when he said playtime, he had a very similar quote, or something like that. Like it's something like I wanted to make the movie your movie or something.
Yeah. Well, after a few times, it becomes your movie basically.
Exactly. And that's how I feel about Bresson's movies too. Yeah. Like almost all of them now. Like I feel like they're my movies.
No one can
like
have.
The way because I forgot. I think it might have been Kent Jones. He was saying something like Bresson. Like when critics review Bresson's movies, they famously disagree on details or like what happened or characters' motivations. Yeah. Because like there's no clear motivation. Yeah, so one critic will be like, "Oh, the character did this because of this" or something, but the other critic might say the exact opposite or something. Yeah. Like that, you know. Those are kind of my favorite types of movies. Yeah. But so before we get to The Devil Probably, I wanted to read a few more just like simple quotes about this idea of like Bresson's idea of like grasping the relationship between images, you know, which is if you think about it, that's kind of what cinema is. Like have you guys both seen that video of like Scorsese talking about editing being like the power of cinema or what cinema really is?
I probably have it
something like that. Yeah. Kubrick also said something similar where like that's what the one difference between cinema and the other arts is editing. Yeah. But if you really think about editing is not one image and two images, right? Because that's what photography is. It's really about like the gap between those two images, you know, and then applying rhythm between.
So is that connected to what Bresson's saying? Do you think?
Yes, okay. Exactly.
I know I heard Monty Call in that one video. He had the perfect analogy for it. He said like Einstein said 1 + 1 = 3. Honestly, I can't stop thinking. I've not stopped thinking about it. He said basically like.
No, that's what Scorsese said, I think.
No, that's what Monty Call said.
Does he say in that video?
I'm pretty sure because in that one the press.
No, because in that video he says he compares Bresson and Eisenstein as different.
Yeah, no, but I know I'm just saying like I really like that analogy because I've been having. Keep thinking about that.
But that's what the power of cinema is, right? It's like I've heard Scorsese say something like, what made him attach to cinema at the beginning is like, you have one image, you add another image, and the third image that comes is in your mind's eye. Yeah. You know, it's not actually on the screen; it's in your mind's eye. Like so, if you put like an axe, like we'll see in this movie, and then you see a flower pot, and you see blood. That's all you need to know. There's a kill.
Or is it a lamp?
Or it's a lamp. Yeah. What did I say?
You said flower pot.
Flower pot. Yeah. No, it's a lamp. You're right. Yeah. But you see what I'm saying, though, right? Like that's all. That's what cinema is. It's like that gap could be anything. That's like Bresson's whole thing. It's like, that's what the power of cinema is. You can literally do anything with those gaps between the images. But most people are just like, representing what's already in a story. You know, they're being basic about it. Like it's already decided beforehand. You know. So let me read a few quotes. This first one is by Bruce Elder, who I've been mentioning a lot of times. A director I've never seen once again.
Come on, Dan.
Quote, "The senses reveal what the mind, unillumined from above, cannot know. so the filmmaker turns his attention to the precise look of things. He does so not in order to apprehend them in themselves. Instead, he just strives, as the extraordinary formal rigor of Bresson suggests, to grasp relations between things in a word. Their co-naturality. And then it's funny that you said pessimistic at the beginning, because Ken Jones he said, "Can it really be said that L'Argent or The Devil Probably are pessimistic films?" And he says, "Quote that different outcomes seem almost impossible for either Charles or Vaughn, the two main characters, is less important than the fact that beyond the despair felt by each character, the world continues." The events of both films, awful as they are, occur in the same Christian universe where the flowing of water through a stream and the hanging of clothes on a line imprint themselves on the eye and ear, acquiring a pure, heightened beauty that approaches the ecstatic. And, like, that's kind of like a... Just reading that again, like, that's kind of why I love both Ozu and Bresson. It's like, there's almost, like, two things going on. There's, like, the cruel nature of the story itself with the characters, you know, that we kind of relate to in some sense. Yeah. But there's almost, like, a different film that the characters don't see, is like the rhythm of the images themselves, you know, just like the pleasure of watching a film. Like what both Ozu and Bresson understood. Like, honestly, to a degree, I don't see really with directors nowadays, but just like that precision, you know, it's it's something I love. Obviously, that I've said a lot, but there's kind of like you can have both those in the same movie at the same time almost, which I love. But yeah, is there anything else that comes to mind before we go to the specifics about that?
It's a lot, honestly. It's a lot. I don't know.
Like, I know you've actually read a decent amount of Buddhism. Does Bresson ever? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I saw what you were saying for sure.
Okay.
No, like what I had the exact whenever you said that quote from Diary of a Country Priest. That's why I said that. I think that's why I said that. At the very beginning, I was gonna save it for L'Argent, but then you just brought it up now, so I was like, okay, whatever. Good. So you know, but
I've never seen him mention anything about Buddhism, but.
Well, I mean, Christianity and Buddhism aren't that different. Like,
they have
at their core, they're, especially if you're like a New Testament believer, like they're very similar. Like what Jesus teaches and what like Buddhists idea of compassion, like what Buddhist abbots always teach. Like it's the exact same thing. Yeah. So it's like not that big of a stretch to maybe think that he had read Buddhism, but it's also might just be his view on Christianity. Like this is what his view on Christianity is.
No, and we'll talk about what The Devil Probably is. His views on Christianity is like very philosophical or just like religious. Like he doesn't like the church, as we see obviously in the movie. But yeah. No, I'm glad you thought that too. So, but yeah, we'll get into The Devil Probably.
It also makes sense why Sai loves him too.
Okay.
I mean, for sure. Like we talked about Sai and Buddhism a lot during our Sai episode, and we've seen a lot of the same.
Sai's a director nowadays that does the with Ozu and Bresson, like what you were saying about the mood that's happening outside the characters.
Yes.
You said no one really does that anymore. I was saying.
I mean, Kaurismäki does it too.
No, there's definitely directors that do it. Yeah. So no one on their level. No.
Blake, what is your
Sai is definitely on. He might be better than Bresson.
Whoa!
He's better.
Fight. Let's not go crazy. That's not an insult.
No, it's an insult. He's insulting Bresson.
How? I mean, Sai's my favorite director.
It's kind of insane, but still.
Sai's my favorite director.
No. I love Sai, so I can't hear that.
So is John Woo better than Bresson? Like.
They're different.
That would be crazy, but they are different. And I think Bresson would like John Woo, honestly. Maybe not some of the melodrama, but I don't know. In the music, but...
And the music. and the dialogue, you know.
The dialogue he might like. Because I've been thinking about this, Bresson doesn't like acting that kind of way. Yeah. But I think he might have liked, dialogue that is, flat in terms of,
dialogue
it's all expressive.
Dialogue from my favorite directors, he would love them all, I'm joking. Anyway.
And he hated me? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, they loved each other.
Who's the one that he hated?
The one I don't think he liked is Fellini.
Yeah.
He might not like Fellini.
Come on.
Because he has one of my favorite, insults.
You talked about this. Yeah.
Which one?
The broom?
Yes. I don't know on podcast.
You did on the podcast.
Say it again.
Okay, because in his notes, every time he insults an actor or someone in the cinema tradition versus cinematography, he uses X. So he says, like wow, it's something like X's film.
Moves the camera
like a broom, sweeps his camera across the screen like a broom or something like that. It's like a great way to describe Fellini. I was like, he must be describing Fellini.
He must be describing Fellini.
Fellini's better than Bresson, though. That's the problem.
Oh, that's crazy.
You don't even believe that.
Oh, come on. You know
you don't believe that.
You know I like Fellini more than Bresson.
Don't make us kick you out of the podcast.
But you knew I knew.
Okay, you think his peaks are better, maybe. Like one movie or two.
Fellini has a lot of bangers, though. That's the problem.
Your bangers are different than our bangers, though.
I mean, yeah,
he's got a lot.
That's called subjectivity.
The main difference is he's got some stinkers.
The main difference is I could watch L'Argent 3 times in the time it takes you to watch La Dolce Vita.
Damn, that's great.
No,
2.5 times.
2 and like 1/4, honestly. Like, honestly, like, Dolce Vita is so good. Yeah. Honestly, I need to rewatch them. Just a
we kept it docile on the podcast, so. I think
haters over here.
3.5 for me. It's 3.5 for me. What more do you want?
The cowards. I think I give it a 3.
Damn.
I'm in hell.
Okay,
I'm in hell. That's the perfect time to get
you're the one that brought up Fellini, not us. And I love the guy. I have a Fellini.
No, you brought up Fellini.
You have a Fellini poster?
Yeah. Well, actually, I used to. But then it kind of got destroyed.
He has the Fellini box set, though, so...
Yeah, I do have that.
How is there no Bresson box set, though?
That is insane.
Probably right.
Yeah, they don't have the rights to A Gentlewoman, Lancelot, or
Front Supreme. Anyway.
Okay, we'll go to The Devil Probably. Is there anything specific that... Because last week I did say this is his most French New Wave movie. I think I still kind of stand by that.
No, I
what do you guys...
Because that's like... kind of makes this movie stand out is like the youthful nature of it. Like him focusing on the youth, I feel like he hasn't really done that.
Oh, I was going to say that for L'Argent. L'Argent, I think Danny said this before, but I also agree. It does not feel like a movie made by an old man.
Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah, both of these, like, they'll probably...
that way, yes, L'Argent.
These are both...
No, I'm talking about, like, just the youthful vigor behind L'Argent.
Yes.
Well, yeah, okay, I see that. But yeah, but I still really like the kind of focus on, like, the French youth in this movie. Like, I find it really interesting. And, like, everything we've said about it so far, too, I definitely feel that. Also, like, the documentary footage Bresson used, like, those scenes with the documentary footage, like... I love that because like it's like such like a thing he's like never done before. It's
honestly,
like kind of insane.
And like it startles you too.
Exactly. Like.
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah, and then also just it's hard to explain, but just great moments too, which we'll talk about. But yeah.
What are you, Blake?
No, it's a great movie. Honestly, like it's very pessimistic, but it's kind of pessimistic in the way Balthazar is. You know, like it's. The way the world is like it's showing the world the way it like actually is, and it's showing the effects it's having on the youth, which is like where it's different from Balthazar, obviously. Although it's kind of showing the effects on the youth in that one too. But
is this one
more so on modern day too? Yeah, like it's also like focusing like what is this new world doing to like our next generation, basically.
Yes.
So I really like that. I really like that about it, and I think this one's gonna be one of the best like. On rewatch also because there's a lot in this one. Like there's a lot of like I know and I think we were talking about this earlier, but you were like Bresson would never have so much dialogue, and I said hey the Devil probably has a lot of dialogue.
Also we before I forget, we need to mention he loves unibrows a lot.
He does love unibrows.
Does Charles have one in this one?
Not the main character.
It's the one with his friend.
Yeah. I think his name is Michel. I want to make sure because I think that's interesting that Michel is also the name of the guy in Pickpocket.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting.
The guy in Florence of a Dreamer has a unibrow. The main guy in that, one of the two kids in L'Argent has a unibrow. What's your explanation for that? Like what's his?
They're visually interesting. I don't know.
They are visually interesting. Okay. That's true.
When you get like Anthony Davis, like.
I mean, there's a reason he marketed himself as the brow. We still know him like that.
I guess Bresson was ahead of the curve.
Or maybe that was just a French thing at the time. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like kind of like insane. Like he just has like so many unibrows. Like it's really.
I did notice that for sure. With does Jock have one too in Four Nights?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He's the main guy in Florence River has one.
Wait, does L'Argent guy have it?
Yeah, one of the two kids has the L'Argent. One of the two kids at the beginning.
Damn, I didn't notice.
And like throughout the movie, yeah, he has.
Yeah, okay, I did notice that.
You know
that's a good point. Damn.
He loves him. That's what I'm saying.
Because there's that video I saw on Vimeo of like the doors to Bresson or the doors of L'Argent, I think.
Yeah,
it's just like a cut of all the doors opening, closing.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do one for the unibrows of
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Because that's a good catch. Like, there's some stuff like that in Bresson's movies.
What's the meaning of the unibrow? There has to be something. Anyway.
Probably just like, I like the look of it or something.
Fair enough.
I think he likes certain features on people's faces. Like, that's why he casts them, you know?
It's
so
definitely...
If you're really drawn to something that stands out, you might like that more. Okay, so to go to the devil, probably. First, I wanted to read a couple quotes from Bresson to kind of explain the movie, because I think it'll make sense. So, quote. I would have liked to deal with the sacrifice of these boys and girls who are looking for some sort of salvation and non-action, who are opting out of a scandalous society based on only money and profit, war and fear. My heart is drawn to them, and I would like for them to be the subject of my next film. And he was saying that right before Double Probably, which I love that quote, salvation and non-action.
Yeah.
Which is because I've kind of talked about that with like Mouchette, especially. I remember saying this. It's like if you're like a character and you like look at the world around you and you don't see any options, you know, because it's almost like Bresson sees a world where like people don't have anything to believe in anymore. You know, where everything around him. It's like I love the Dub probably because you start to notice like all the different places he goes to. It's like he's looking for something and it's like not there. Like he goes to a church, he goes to like a youth rally, he goes to like a hippie
hippie
group. He's goes to my favorite scene is the psychoanalyst that he goes to, which is a lot of talking you're talking about.
Yeah.
But that's why I love this kind of idea of salvation and non-action. You know, it's like that's what he says the characters are looking for. You know, just the reason I bring that up, those words specifically, because that's in a way you could say is a Buddhist idea. You know, even
for sure.
This idea of
No, my favorite. I don't know if it's my favorite quote because there's a lot of great quotes in The Devil Probably, but the guy says, "I'm not depressed. I just want the right to be myself. I don't want to be forced to give up wanting to replace my true desires with false ones based on statistics, surveys, formula, ultra stupid American Russian scientific classifications. I don't want to be a slave or a specialist."
Exactly.
But that's how like the youths of today are feeling. Also, like it's not gotten better. That's the other thing.
No. There's a few quotes I'm going to read that'll definitely like you'll see. Yeah, this next quote maybe it'll explain more because this is by Bresson too. Is quote, but this way of wanting to die is many things. It is a disgust with life, with people around you, with living only for money, to see everything which is good to live for disappear. When you see that you cannot fall in love with people, not only with a woman, but all the people around you, you find yourself alone with people. I can imagine living in disgust with so many things which are against you, around you, and you feel like suicide. And, like, to me, that last line, too, is, like, maybe that explains the whole movie of Devil Probably. Like, this idea of feeling like suicide. Because, honestly, like, I feel like a lot of our generation would understand exactly what I'm saying when you say that.
For sure.
You know, like, there's so many times, like, you hear jokes, like, people say, like, I want to kill myself.
Oh, I say that, like, all the time.
Oh, I say it, too. But, like, people understand it. You know, it's an understandable feeling. You know, it's like, the world just makes you feel that way sometimes. Like, it's obviously, like, not something you're actually going to do, but, like I said, like, that feeling is there.
Yeah.
And, like, Bresson gets that feeling. Like, that whole movie is, like, Bresson, like, hitting you with those feelings over and over again, you know, of like not being able to find something to believe in really in the world.
That's what Mouchette is too.
No,
that's what a gentlewoman is too.
Exactly. Yes, except Would you say that he commits suicide in this?
Yeah. I mean, it's an assisted suicide, but
assisted suicide. Yeah,
because he's got the thing that you were talking about in Mouchette, where it's like whenever her rolling down the hill is like her trying to convince her body basically to die, or her body's not wanting to die. And so she's got to like basically just like gravity take her, or else because her body's not going to do it herself, basically. Yeah. And that's the same thing this guy's having. Like he can't kill himself because his body doesn't want to. Like his mind wants to. Says that in the, his mind wants to, but his body doesn't want to. So
that's what I'm saying. Like doesn't even like in like modern day society. Like in modern day society, that guy would get charged for murder. You know?
Oh, for sure.
But in ancient times, like you said, like the ancient Romans, he's doing him a favor, right? It's just like you said, assisted suicide. It's actually a favor.
Yeah. Well, that's what like Harakiri or Seppuku, like that's you always had someone there also. Like you would cut your guts, and then someone would behead you so you don't suffer. Obviously, like that's also assisted suicide.
Exactly. So I think the question Bresson is asking is assisted suicide murder? Because I think this is Bresson's point, like especially with Machete, is like what society does is assist people with suicide. Before they even get to that point, that's what society does.
The suicide or the suicide / murder in this one is insane though. Like whenever, like you just like the tension in the scene is insane, and then you're like, when is he gonna do it? And then he just like,
no, dude,
well, you already know it's gonna.
It's a very big Killers of the Flower Moon thing.
The thing is also,
like we were saying before, like just bang.
But what's interesting is that you know it's gonna happen. So
yes,
like they present that
at the very beginning of the movie. But this is why I asked, is it a suicide? Because yes, he definitely like asked for the suicide and everything. But there's a moment where like there's a split moment where it makes you feel like it's murder because. He's like they're walking and he's getting followed, and he's like about to start saying he's about to go on his big speech that you think like a normal movie would give, but then the guy just all of a sudden like almost carelessly, because it is his last speech. You think he would have some kind of heart and like let him talk, but he just goes all of a sudden just shoots him in the face right when he starts talking to make him feel like it gives you that moment of okay, he killed him because this guy still for that moment still wanted to live.
Oh yeah. No, the way
so the way it happens is like it makes you. It's even Bresson in that little moment makes you feel like it's not just a clear suicide
for sure,
because he's like even that split second he wanted to keep going, and he still gets killed by society. You would say this guy just wants his money, no, damn, but that's why I love that scene too, because it's like even
classic closing film talking about the ending already.
I haven't even seen the movie yet. There's a few other there's a Fassbender quote I wanted to read.
Oh, like Rainbow Fassbender?
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew you'd light up for that. I'm sorry I light up for that one. Okay, because
I'm the only one you've seen movies from.
Yeah, true. I haven't seen any of his movies. Like all these directors that love Bresson, I've never seen. I'm like quoting them all the time. Like I've seen them.
The two I've seen, two or three.
Do you see
kind of
made
on
in him?
No, not really.
That doesn't mean anything really. I'm
not at least when I watched it. I haven't watched it in a while, but I haven't really. Nothing really clicked with me, to be honest. But I need to get to him at some point. So.
No, because I know obviously Fassbender loved Bresson too.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
Oh, he loves
because he's a theater director too. He was like a theater director origin, which is kind of crazy. Anyway.
No, but because apparently he was at the Berlin Film Festival as a judge for The Devil Probably.
Yeah.
And so apparently people are saying. So I'll just read what he said. He said, but then people say, what if you show a film like this to the man in the street and he doesn't understand it? First of all, I think that's wrong. But even if that's true, doesn't it mean that in the future, and this world will probably last for a few thousand years or so, this film will be much more important than all the rubbish which is now considered important, which will never go deep enough. The questions Bresson asks will never be unimportant.
Honestly, that's.
That's why
we already talked about like it's like honestly like a lot of stuff here.
And then I think he really gets to like especially the political aspect of this movie because I remember when you first watched this like maybe a year ago, you said like this is this. Or maybe your review you said it's a political movie.
I deleted that review because I hated it.
But what was the review anyway?
I said it's like it's like interesting to see him dealing like directly political matters. Like
okay. No, because I think that's true. So let me. I'll see why you see why I'm saying that. So the guy who was interviewing him at the Berlin Film Fest asked him, so are these characters rejecting all existing political forms? And then Fassbender says yes, rejecting every commitment. Because commitment for the film's young characters, which he seems to understand so well, is mainly an escape into occupation, which keeps that commitment alive. An escape from the awareness that everything goes on around you, regardless of you and your commitment. And I love that. Like, that's kind of like what Bresson is seeing, like what these young characters are seeing. It's like that's that part you mentioned, like a little bit before when he's like talking to the psychologist, where he reads that newspaper of like all the advertising stuff he's supposed to buy and like his life planned out for him basically. He basically sees like the world is asking you to basically just forget what's going on all around you, or like I said, the relations around you, and just focus on whatever occupation, just be really committed to whatever occupation, like we said, and to ignore the awareness that everything goes on around you regardless of what you do, because a lot of times it's like you just hear this like fake kind of niceness of everything will get better, everything will always like, but there's like no basis behind it. People just say that kind of almost get through the day, like the world sucks, but at least it's getting better, stuff like that. These like kind of plain, at least in my mind, like these like kind of like
it's an interesting quote because like that's something that people would accuse Buddhists of being. cutting themselves
That's
off from the world
yeah.
to just ignore the problems. Which
is a bad reading of Buddhism.
It's a bad reading of Buddhism. It's an easy reading to have, but it definitely is a bad reading of it.
And like all things, it could lead to that. You know? But no, exactly. No, I love that you said that because it could even. But you could say Bresson's doing that too by rejecting all political commitment.
Yeah.
Is he just saying leave the world? But to me, that's what Bresson's movies are saying. It's almost like to pay attention to the world even more. Yeah. But to the immediate things around you, literally this object in front of you or a hand in front of you or whatever, without caring too much about almost these processes that are outside of our control. You know, being committed to these ideas that are almost decided already. Think about it. People are driving cars now because a lot of the laws were decided in the 1950s and 60s. That's it. Our system would be way different now if we could change it. But, because people made decisions back in the 50s and 60s, all of our infrastructure is a certain way, and we have to do it a certain way.
Yep.
That's just one example. But think about all the examples like that in our life that we never even think about. But, yeah. So I wanted to read, before we get to the movie itself, I wanted to read one more by Kent Jones again. Because he I'll read it first, and I'll see. You'll see why. So he says, Bresson's, he does say Bresson's vision of the youth in the early 70s is a conservative one, which I think I would kind of agree with. But then he says Bresson isn't a reactionary. That by his reckoning, it's the forces at work in the world that leave young people with no sense of hope, as opposed to any inherent laziness. And that's kind of what I love. What I say, Bresson doesn't judge the characters really, because you kind of understand even if they aren't choosing any political commitment, you can kind of see why. If they're not choosing to go to church, you see why, or whatever they're not choosing to do. He kind of understands that. But then keep going. He says, Bresson made this implicit position in The Devil Probably, a fascinatingly awkward, thematically burdened film that tests the ideas of whether young people can withstand the monstrous man-made death drive of capitalism when they've been denied a belief system. And then one more quote, because this is the one I actually was going to talk about, because when Blake mentioned Psy was... the collective sunken posture of our generation, and he's talking about the 60s generation, or the 70s that kind of Bresson's filming is, as we drifted through the world was a kind of insurance against anything affecting us that we did not want to enter our psyches, a precursor of the contemporary pull towards the organization of life around various information technologies, fax machines, cell phones, PCs, DVD players, whose relationship to their owners Bresson would have filmed so well. And first of all, yes, Bresson would have filmed that so well. But second is we just watched Psy.
Yeah, Psy's already done it.
But is there any other directors that come? Because there's two other that came to my mind. Or one movie came to my mind.
Definitely
sure.
Kiyoshi Kurosawa.
Yeah, that's really that's exactly what.
Wait. Can you see?
I'll read that last line. And basically a precursor of the contemporary pull towards the organization of life around various information technologies, fax machines, cell phones, PCs, and DVD players, whose relationship to their owners Bresson's would have filmed so well. So basically the relationship to the objects, which is now modern objects, which are technology.
So Tati.
Bodies. Tati. I was thinking more modern, now.
Okay.
If
Tati was making movies.
Pulse is the movie that first came to my mind.
It's so funny y'all are bringing up Kurosawa in relation to Devil Probably, because one of the movies I thought of with L'Argent is Cure. But we'll get to that.
Interesting.
I'll get to that.
I kind of like it. No, I can see it.
He's definitely got some Bresson vibes in terms of what I'm saying is he lets the images speak for themselves,
Yeah, but also some of the ideas at play too.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And the other one I thought was Weird Receptacle too in some of his movies. You get more these bright neon lights right after the forest and stuff like that. And
literally that Syndrome of the Centuries. That's literally the movie.
Exactly.
Comparing the rural hospital to the city, urban
this clash almost.
And then basically the ending is the combination of the two with the dancers, the exercise dancers in the park.
Oh, I haven't seen it like that.
Oh, it's such a good. I love Syndrome of the Centuries.
No, I haven't the ending like that. I haven't seen the ending like that.
Oh, it's it's so good.
Yeah, we have to do weird stuff.
Oh yeah, we'll have to get to him for sure.
We hate doing modern directors, but
we did Psy. He's modern.
Modern.
He's making shorts still.
He's making shorts still.
Days came out 2020. So
yeah, exactly.
It counts. But okay, now I think we should actually get into the movie now.
We've already gone into it.
We have gotten into it. Yeah, I'll skip over some stuff we talked about, but we talked about at the beginning already. But remember this word I've already mentioned a couple times: hysteron proteron. which is you guys should know what it means by now. I'm like quizzing you guys.
Say it again.
Putting the effect before the cause.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And literally he does this whole movie again, basically kind of just to take that tension out, you know.
Yeah.
I
mean, what? Let's make a list of all the other movies that used it. I mean, Gentlewoman
for sure.
Manscaped.
Those are the two that I was thinking of.
Those are the two you think of? I don't know. Was there any other ones that kind of do that?
Fuck, I might have to look through the list. But those are the two for sure. But he does that in like little moments of the movie too.
Yeah.
In the different movies. I think I mentioned one in Balthazar, where we learn like the father when he's like getting in trouble about the his land. But we like learn the information in reverse, basically.
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly what I said, but yeah, he does that in little moments too. But basically, putting the effect before the cause, which kind of goes what I was saying with my theme is like basically seeing the relationship as a whole. You know, because if a movie like normally it's like you're seeing the cause first, right? And the tension is okay, what's the effect going to be? And you're kind of that's where the exciting moments of the movie come. It's like this tension between we're watching the cause of what's happening, and then we're going to see the effect at the end. Yeah. But if you kind of just take that away, if you put the effect at the beginning. You take that kind of tension away, so then you're paying attention to different things.
And right?
I mean, you're paying attention.
It kind of makes this movie into like another one of the process, like it's like the process, but it's in a different way, kind of. It's more
that's like Larjan exactly that. You know, you're watching a process. You know, at that point he's like literally taking characters out of it, like any single character out of it. Versus like his earlier movies still have like a central narrative with the character, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, we get the newspaper. That's all we get is like a Chaplin like newspaper. It's like one shot, or actually a lot of like silence do the.
Oh, a lot of silence for sure.
Yeah. And then it goes to 6 months before. Do you guys remember how it first shows him? It's like one of my favorite Bresson openings.
I feel like I do know.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. He's like holding his foot.
Okay. Yes.
Do you remember what he's doing?
I just remember how like kind of jarring it was.
It's like weird, just like holding his foot, but he's like checking people's feet to see if they walk right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Their souls to see if they walk right.
That's something Bresson would do. I feel.
Like
all his extras
like he would know the right way to walk and
like that. Or Tati literally did that to everyone. Like he would go up to everyone, all the extras individually, and show them exactly what to do.
I mean, yeah, watching Playtime, he had to do that.
Yeah, but anyway.
Damn, how's it not like a documentary of that? Like we get like some.
There's behind the scenes stuff.
A Playtime
on Criterion.
Yeah. No, it's not like it's on the DVD or
it's not like a ton, but it's like
of him filming and stuff.
No,
there's a few.
It was the documentary made on the set of Playtime.
Tativo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tativo.
Oh yeah, shit. I need to watch.
There's also shorts. There's a short he made. A short. He didn't direct it, but he starred in a short on the Playtime set. It's in like one. It's basically
directed by the same guy, right? By the same guy that did Tativo.
I'm not sure, but it's where he's teaching the class of kids on how to act in certain ways.
Yeah.
So it's called Evening Classes. Highly recommend. It's on Criterion. It's on Criterion.
I mean, acting. I don't believe in acting. That's the problem. No, I'm kidding.
When it's Tati, you
oh
my god, it's so good. Anyway,
we'll keep going. Even though there is a lot of similarities between the two movies. Yeah. I mean, people too, but movies. Yeah. Because his movies are very similar. Like they're not about watching the tension of something happen. You know, if you watch a Tati movie like that, you're basically just gonna be disappointed. You know, you're gonna be waiting for something that's never coming.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen on Monsieur Louis Vacation?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh!
Is he gonna get the girl or like this kind of stuff? Like, you know, that's not why you're watching a movie. You're watching it to kind of just watch events unfold. You know.
Although maybe I could see like people be like, oh, is he ever gonna? Are him and the one guy ever gonna find each other? But it's like
no,
you kind of forget about it too. With though, like
it's not like, the main thrust of the movie by any means.
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
No, it's definitely a tease. But anyway, to go back to the movie, so then we get the first group of like the characters kind of walking together to go see. They're trying to find their meaning.
Love this dude's hair, but this dude's hair is like so
great
good.
hair.
Oh my god, it's like so like stands out.
Honestly. I wonder if Bresson ever had hair like this. I've never seen him with hair like this, but he might maybe when he was young. Because like Jacques also has similar long hair too, and I've seen people say like that's like his autobiographical movie.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, like
literally he's a painter, and he like loved that place where they go to.
Yeah.
But the long hair thing, I would love. I don't know.
It's just it's like the first image I think of this movie is this dude's
exactly,
hair. Like,
is that just because shout out to Steely Dante?
Yeah.
Picture.
That's part of it, maybe. I guess. Yeah.
No, but it is. You know, it just fits his characters so well too.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just as I go through this movie, I'm just gonna read some quotes throughout because like I said, there's a lot of talking. But like it's like every like phrase has this kind of like you could say it has like a deeper meaning. What are you trying to say? Kind of like because like it's just like random voices speaking and this like crowd is just standing there like listening to what they're saying. Someone says like we should destroy everything, and then someone else asks what would be left, and then someone says anything would be an improvement over this. Just this kind of feeling. So like Bresson is saying, like he understands these kind of like what this generation is feeling. Yeah, you know. And then someone else says the point there is no point, which I also love. You know, like a very postmodern thing to say. But then it cuts to the first shot we see of like the Society for Environmental Conservation. But I just wanted to ask, why do you think he has these in here? Because I know you said they like shocked you, and they kind of like surprised you. But do you think he has? Because I think I have like my kind of at least idea of why he might have put these in here.
Why do you put them in there?
Because I mean, jarring.
You're watching at least the baby seal one's so sad. Like it's so sad. It reminds me a lot of the Song Soleil Giraffe one, where it's just like happens out of nowhere. Honestly, because it's like they both just happen literally out of nowhere. But the baby giraffe one is like they're killing, or not the baby giraffe, the baby seal one is they're killing the baby seal obviously for its fur. It's just so cute. And it's like you can say that's the same. Like it's paralleled with what capitalism is doing to the young generation too. It's like
that's exactly kind of my point I was going to make. Like honestly, you saying that is like a continuation. I was going to say is because I think he's emphasizing Michelle in this movie, in this scene. I mean, these scenes of like
the girl.
No, the guy.
Oh, the guy.
The guy that's in love with the girl that's in love with Charles,
okay,
but he can't get her kind of
the unibrow guy.
The unibrow guy. We'll call him unibrow guy.
Unibrow guy.
The only reason I say Michelle is because I think it's important his name is Michelle, because that's the same character's name in Pickpocket. So, and the reason I say that is because like Michelle in this movie, I think like the reason why he has us watching these scenes of like the environmental disaster with Michelle is like it's almost Michelle plays the same role in both as he's watching these environmental scenes as he does with the girl, in terms of like she's choosing this like society or this world that's like kind of destroying her, but she doesn't know why, and he's helpless to stop that the same way as he's helpless to stop like these environmental scenes. As like literally all we see is every time they just go and just watch these highlights, and like one time they literally say like we can't do it, we can never show anyone this, and that's all they say, you know, like it's like there's no action plan or like but really like what Bresson may be saying, like there is no action these people can do, you know, like all they can do is watch to a certain degree. So like that's kind of how I see him, like because he's kind of like a lame character in some ways, you know, like because he is in some ways comparing him to Charles, where Charles seems like the guy who's like getting all the women, you know,
like without even trying,
like there's like one scene where it's like I think it might be the next scene where it's somewhere where like Albert, like one of the girls is waiting for Charles to come pick her up. But he comes with like a third girl that drives both of them.
But he's also like because Michelle is like with her, like trying to be like
he literally says it's this next scene where he's talking to her outside, and then she says to him, "It's you I love." With him, it's something else.
And that's when Charles comes.
Yeah, that's when Charles comes.
Oh my god, this guy.
No, because you remember in Lancelot where one of them says something's driving us against our will.
Yeah,
it reminds me of a very similar quote to what she says. It's like, it's you I love, with him it's something else.
It's also Four Nights of a Dreamer too, for sure.
Something, yeah, exactly. Like this idea that it happens a little later where he says to her like, why don't you just stop loving him? And she just says, oh Michelle. It's like that's not what love is, you know. This whole idea of like you can't just stop loving someone, kind of. But yeah, that's when he comes and picks her up with. Yeah, it's a third girl that we never see.
And it's only a 2-seater car, so she just kind of slides in with him.
She drives both of them to like their date.
Oh my god,
which is just insane. Because it's so funny too. Like she drops both of them off, and then like they both like go to like lay in the bed.
Yeah.
But Bresson on the soundtrack he plays like just glass crashing. It's like very unpleasant, you know. Like we can tell what he feels about this. So.
Yeah.
But then the next kind of like environment they go to is the church, which this actually has a lot of talking too.
Is this where they're putting the porn in between the pamphlets and stuff?
Yes.
Oh my god,
that's so funny.
It's so funny. No, this whole scene has a lot. First, did you notice Marie Riviere's in this? She's in this movie twice. Uncredited. Riviere. She's the main girl actress in The Green Ray.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
No, because I looked at it, and then thankfully in Letterboxd it said it has her name listed as uncredited. And I'll have to show you. It's funny. She's in this scene, and she's in like she's in the earlier scene with like like the protests kind of going on too.
Makes sense.
But basically they're kind of like. Basically, I think it's like almost Bresson saying like the church is kind of given up almost. Like they basically become the rest of like. At least how I see it is like Bresson saying like the church is kind of given up. They become like the rest of modern.
They become capital. Dude, whenever he takes the other guy there, the heroin addict there, and you just see all the fucking money the church has, like that's obviously how Bresson feels about the church.
Exactly.
That's how I feel about it too.
Exactly. No, because there's one where I think someone from the church says you have to evolve with the times, and then someone else to hell with your times.
Yeah,
and I love that. It's
that's
like,
a great one.
Yeah. Just a bunch of ways of kind of expressing this feeling, of what these kids feel as they go to these different places.
Yeah.
Like one of them says at one point, "We've had enough of the old ways." I guess this is something interesting he does a few times because he does it later in the bus scene that we'll talk about. But do you remember in Man Escaped? I mentioned how like P. Adam Sidney had said for most of Bresson's dialogue, it's basically just shot counter shot dialogue.
Yeah.
But in Man Escape, like in the prison scenes, we actually get like just one shot where like you just hear voices coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
But he does that in this like a few times.
Yeah.
He's doing it in this church scene, and it's funny in this one because there's a few times where like the kids are like saying stuff, and the church just answers with this loud like gong, like this organ, like just like they have no answer except for that, basically.
I love when directors like don't do that, like in dialogue scenes only keep the camera on. It's like it's super interesting.
Yes. The bus is
like,
the best one where just the voices are coming. You don't like.
It's not like Minnelli does a lot. I really like.
And to me, it just gets to that point of like Bresson saying like at this point he's just trying to express society, Yeah. Like not even trying to pretend it's like through a character really. Even though Charles is the main character still, but we keep going. We get Charles with Charles is with Albert. No, not Albert. The other girl. I actually forgot her name. Fuck.
Yeah, I don't.
But anyway, you know the other girl I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's two girls. Charles with one of them, and she's actually in love with like this author character apparently.
Yeah.
So they go to like.
Boss?
Is it her boss too? Does she?
Maybe
she
was
works
boss,
for him.
Maybe.
Okay.
I can't remember.
But either way, like I think you're right. Yeah, because he's like offering
the one that she has
too.
sex with later.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's like basically
I thought it was her boss,
close.
but it might be her author too. So it might be
their lover /
too,
boss. Might be
something like that.
Like Bresson, like he doesn't make things clear. So like, if you want two people writing about it, you can see two different ways. But anyway, the reason I want to point this out is because so they go to his book signing and stuff, and like Charles is getting mad for some like even though this guy's a huge hypocrite, he's like getting mad at this author for like kind of like fucking around with her and stuff. But then as they leave, the author's like, because the author's like been like quoting his book, and he's like, what he says is, where was I? Okay, yeah, and he says, accelerating the process of psychological disintegration has already begun. Through books, films, and drugs. And it's just an example of like one of these minor characters saying something like that Bresson probably doesn't like the character, but they're saying something he agrees with. But no, then we get to that's where the next thing is where like Charles is waiting downstairs, like on the sidewalk as she's with this other author as they're in bed, like just like an hour or something. But we go back to as that happening, we see Michelle with the other girl that like Michelle's in love with, and that's where she says he tells her there's a way, stop loving him and love someone else. And then she says, oh, Michelle. And I wanted to point out this scene because it's I'll read the quote and I'll explain why. So Haroon Faraki he mentions this quote specifically as like an example of Bresson's like the reason why Bresson's movies in a certain sense are so like aesthetically pleasing to watch, even like if the material is kind of depressing, is like the movements are like so in sync. And so like I'll read in this scene specifically. He says, in The Devil Probably, Michelle and Albert meet again and again in the small apartment where Albert has moved to be with Charles. Albert sits down and Michelle stands up. These two movements appear to be related, as if they were mechanical, scale, seesaw machinery, connected to one another. Often the image of Michelle is like a rhyme of the image of Albert. It's like, if you watch it, it's like literally like when one of them stands up, one of them will sit down, and vice versa, like, and you can kind of tell like how people's emotions are based on that, how close they're willing to be to someone. Just like little movements of the body, like we've mentioned, that even the characters themselves might not notice, but they're just doing subconsciously.
Yes.
And like Bresson really like emphasizes those, like even with looks too. Like when one character's head turns one way, another might turn like the side or something if they want to meet eyes with him, or vice versa, they do want to meet eyes. Yeah, just like little stuff like that. So I will be looking for that with Cassavetes. Let's see if he matches up with Bresson, like you said. I think Cassavetes is more like he's like willing to follow the body, with his camera and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would need to
think about it.
Yeah, I'd need to think about it. Okay. Yeah.
No, because I remember I told you Deleuze also saw them as like both filmmakers of the body.
Yeah,
Bresson and Cassavetes.
There's very interesting compare because they're very different, but also there's similarities. It's like a foundationally they're kind of the same in a way, but then like they almost take
like. Would you say Cassavetes cares like in that example like Prune and Frog says kind of goes like what I had mentioned a few weeks ago of, like Bresson's idea of automatism, where he liked that Montaigne quote a lot of gestures discover us, so like basically the movements of these people kind of we're discovering them as as they move, right?
Yes,
like,
yes. That's a great way to say it.
Yes. I love that quote too. It's, no, because Bresson, he in his notes he says gestures discover us, and then he puts a little parentheses and says, but only when they're automatic.
Okay.
So he's basically only when they're not thought out. So like a lot of these movements, they're kind of talking one way, but their actions show something else. Where she's not really wanting to be close to him, or like every time they're together, she always says like I want to be alone right now, kind of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll keep it going to. Honestly, one of my favorite scenes in the movie, I kind of mentioned this earlier, where this is maybe his like eyes wide moment, is when Charles and Michelle, the two main leads, the two main guys, are talking. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Where they're like kind of talking. It's after like Charles has helped this guy doing math, and we see he's actually kind of a smart guy.
Yeah.
But it's like Michelle. They're like kind of talking on the side of on the side of the road, and he says, "Is there no limit to doing nothing?" And then Charles says, yes, but beyond that, you experience such unheard of pleasure. Buddhist, very Buddhist thing to say. But then it's funny because then he's like, Charles is like, he's asking Michelle, tell me who I love most. Albert Edgewood, that's her name, I guess, the other one. And then Michelle's like almost like annoyed by it, and he's like about to leave, and that's when Charles like grabs him. He's like, stay, don't go. And then basically he says, I think he said. Yeah, he says Albert. He says, I'm going to decide to mention, I'm Mary Albert or something.
Yeah. No, I think he says someone, and then Charles says the other one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yep, that's what it is. Yeah. So even, like, he's not serious about it, really.
Yeah.
There's a quick shot of them where they go and watch trees falling down.
Yes.
Do you guys know why? Or how that becomes relevant later on? Because I didn't really realize that, honestly, until this time.
I just thought it was another one of the environmentalists.
Yes, but it kind of
just watching something that you can't control. Like,
but in the psychoanalyst scene, he does say to the psychoanalyst that his dad cuts down trees for a living.
Charles
says that.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably why we're watching this, first of all.
Yeah.
And it's almost like even Bresson saying maybe the psychoanalyst is right a little bit too, like because of what the dad does. Like this is why he's like this a little bit.
Yeah.
Like
and you can
he's
see
rebelling.
Charles,
This is what he's rebelling
Charles
against.
Hates it too,
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Like he's rebelling against society, but he's also literally rebelling against his parents too. That also do this literally.
Okay.
So.
Because he obviously hates it because he's covering his ears the entire time. So.
Exactly. And then they're both in the car together driving, and this has one of my favorite Bresson lines where he's like looking through that book, and he says something like, "Do you know how civilizations end?"
Yeah, this one might be my favorite. So.
And he says it's when stupidity is accelerated, which is a great line. But then he's still looking through it, and then he says, "Growth of what? Happiness on credit, the credit card, or the happiness of walking in the country and diving in a river." That's I love that.
Another very
boost.
Oh yeah. But it's just like that. It's like that feeling he understands that people have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially that happiness on the credit card. Like that's still true. Like that's basically what we're
saying. This entire
sold.
movie is still true. This entire movie has never been more true.
No, exactly. Like that's the difference between like I think I've probably mentioned this before, but like making like a movie that's true in your own times that still feels true later on.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's weird to think about. Like Bresson was very specifically making a movie about the '70s generation, as you can tell.
I think it's because like it's just like a cycle, basically. Like that's kind of.
But I think it's because feelings are way more connected and like are way more universal than we think. Even if like the things that cause them are a lot different. Like that feeling. That's why Bresson's films feel so intimate in so many different countries around the world. Is like, I get that feeling he arrives at, that feeling of suicide, like I said, what this movie is really about, I'm sure, like, people all over the world obviously have that kind of feeling, even if, like, the stuff that brings it about it may be different. But we'll keep going. We get some more pollution shots. These are the one that we get. This one is the brutal ones to me is where we get, like, the effects of nuclear waste.
No, this is like right after he said the thing about happiness on the credit card, or the happiness of walking in the country and diving in the river, and then he shows a cut of them like dumping sludge into the river. Basically,
basically undercutting that. Like,
exactly basically undercutting that exactly because like they're taking that option away from you.
Yes.
Like you can't even do it anymore. So
no, damn, that's a good point because I mentioned that quote at the very beginning when Bresson said, "It's like you feel like you're living in a world that's taking away everything that's worth loving," or something like that. That's literally the example, like you said. But they keep talking. They're at a different place now, and they're talking. No, this is the one where he says, "Okay, I'll read the whole thing." So it's funny because he says, Michelle says, "No, you want to be an exceptional guy in an exceptional world." And then Charles says, "What about you? What do you stand for?" "Well, progress, brotherly love." And then Michelle says, "And you?" And then Charles says, "Me, unbridled pleasures, making love like a beast, a wild animal." And then right after that, a girl comes and picks him up. Yeah, as like Michelle's like angrily watches him. Like, but this is what I'm saying. Like, so he seems like a badass, right? It's like he literally just said that, and one picks him up. Hard cut to him trying to drown himself in the bathtub by himself. It's just like Oh my god, it's so funny too because it's like he's like trying to drown himself. He gets out. It's like his body looks so lame too. Like as he just like naked, like getting out of the bathtub. Yeah. And then like that girl walks in and she's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I just, you can't rest your head underwater as if on a pillow and wait. It's not possible." And he says, "Wait for what? I don't know." It's funny, but it's also kind of like what I was saying, like with Michelle, like you said, the same thing about the body not being able to do what the mind wants to do sometimes,
Well, I think what you said on the Mouchette episode is like, the mind is wanting to do this thing, but the body literally won't allow it because the body is its own thing, basically. Yes. The body knows it wants to stay alive.
And the body acts the mind, automatically, even if, as I said. No, and that's kind of why, like I said, with these directors that emphasize presentation or just teaching you maybe new ways to see is paying attention to these things, like where a person might be saying one thing, but their body might be doing something else, just things like that. So paying attention to like the details around you. But yeah, he keeps talking. It cuts back to like Michelle and Charles again because they're talking about suicide. And he says, "I'll have to read the whole quote again." So, could you kill yourself? No. Why not? Because and then this is Charles is asking Michelle this. So Charles says, "Could you kill yourself?" No. Why not? Because if we're really done for, as you say we are, if there really was no hope, I'd still want to live in spite of everything. Then Charles says, "Without thinking, just for the sake of it." And then Michelle says, "Living for the life force, but I'm certain we'll be okay." Certain, but not through reason or intelligence, something else. And he says, "You're right." And it's like the most hope we get in the movie. And the reason why I say that is because Michelle is kind of like lame character, like I said, right? This character, like, as we've seen this whole movie, he has no reason to have hope. But like he's saying, if there really was no hope, I still want to live in spite of everything, And that's where you can see maybe the Christianity in Bresson, like having this idea of faith, even if the world has nothing to offer you, having hope or faith in spite of everything. And the reason why, like, this is maybe the most emotion Charles shows through this whole movie, because he says, "But you're right." When Michelle says, "But not through reason or intelligence, something else," and then Charles says, "You're right," and he pats him on the shoulder, and it's like the most emotional we see him show in the whole movie, and it's like so moving when I watched it this time. Yeah, okay. It's like he like smiles and he just pats him on the shoulder, like he kind of agrees in that moment, it just like really got to me that time. But to keep going, let's see. We'll go to the. They're kind of like at the. There's like a scene where they go and he's like listening to the hippies play music, like similar to Four Nights. And the reason I want to bring the scene up is like, this is like another example of this society, like another kind of group that might be able to offer him a community that really has nothing to offer, because like he's like, "Oh shit, a gun." He like looks at the gun and he like even says something like, "It's tempting." Basically, obviously being like, "It's tempting to kill yourself." So why would you say that? And the guy's just like, "Hey, I'll sell you another gun. Just don't touch that one." And then literally just like right after that, just completely looks the other way, like act like that never just happened, and then he easily takes the gun. Yeah. Right after the guy just says it's tempting, like basically showing like this guy really doesn't care, or is just like, unaware to what's going on. So he takes the gun, and then he goes, and finally a little later, some guy's like, "Hey, I just saw Charles with your gun." He's like, "Why for?" Like, still like, it's so stupid. He's like, "Why?" Like, he's so clueless, but he's like, he was looking at the bullet. He's like, "Why was he looking at the bullet?" It's like, I think he's gonna use it. He's like, "Oh shit!"
Oh my god! There's literally a super similar like line in the rules of the game. Like when one of the guys shoots takes the gun and like shoots it. He's like, "Oh, that was a gun? Wait, it shoots bullets?"
Isn't he trying to hide it that he used it or something?
I think so. It's like it happened so fast, but it's so funny. Oh
no,
I rewatched that last night.
No, because then they go and like they hear gunshots, so you think, "Oh shit, he used it," and then it cuts to like him just shooting the water on over again.
Oh my god.
No, but basically just like kind of this like brief scene of maybe he's about to kill himself, but then it comes back to him telling Michelle, "I'm getting married to Albert. It's my only option," or something like that. Yeah. Which is also, I mean, obviously me and Blake being kind of around that age, is like that's also something the young men feel is like, okay, now we gotta get married,
Yeah.
Like, it's around that time.
Yeah. It's around that time.
It's the only solution.
Well, it's the only solution, especially if you don't have anyone else to live with. It's just like
literally, society literally says that.
Yeah.
Like
you basically need 2 paychecks to live. So
yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. Damn, we could go on and on. No, honestly, we'll get to that. We'll get a little bit when the psychoanalysis scene too, but we get to a classroom too. So okay, maybe he'll find some hope in the classroom, but maybe the future scientists are on the case.
Future scientists are on the case.
It's like all these like these like college students are asking like they're like asking problems about nuclear like waste and stuff, like what are the downsides, and like one of the answers he gives is, "Oh, don't worry, the engineers and technicians are handling that problem," to like one of the questions. Yeah. And then one of the students says, "It doesn't matter, never mind, it's the future generations who'll pay." Yeah. And like I love that line because like it's kind of proof that even in the 70s people knew what was going on. Like this movie's like obviously proof. Like, sure. but people talk about nowadays. It's like, oh, like they didn't know really.
We could have never assumed Fukushima would get hit by a tsunami. Fuck what?
Yeah, exactly.
Japan's literally on the fucking coast.
Or like no one was talking about this, or like no one was warned. Just like kind of proof like people knew back then what they were doing. Yeah. And they just didn't care. But that's another idea, right? Like I mentioned cars, but the big idea is like just global warming or kind of destroying the environment in general, like because the decisions people made in the 60s, 50s, 40s, 20s with the oil and stuff, it's destroying the environment now, then we can't do anything. And we're talking from like the most privileged people, let alone people that like are in the worst parts where like the environment will get hit the most.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, we know just from COVID how like the effect of like third world versus first world too.
Exactly.
Not even like I would consider India probably first world, but India got fucking slammed by COVID just because of the population and shit. Like
Yep, exactly. China too. I mean,
China too.
No, it's like most people can't. They have no choice in these relations. Like I've been saying, right? Like and to get to that, like, I literally used the word choice, but the scene ends with one of the students asks, "Whose choice is it?" And then he says, "It's mainly dictated by the work on armaments and new types of weapons." And then one of the students says, the masterpiece is a weapon that will kill 20 million men, women, and children. It's like we literally just got Oppenheimer, which is... but to me, that line is the best kind of example of that is Dr. Strangelove. Of like kind of making fun of like that idea of like... Yeah. I mean, people like... I mean, it's true that the internet we have today is literally because the military was trying to design something like... was basically designing the early internet. That's why we have internet, let alone, nuclear. Basically, all the technology we have is because of trying to kill people, trying to find a way to...
Imperialism,
exactly.
That's how most advancements happen. It's with military and porn. So.
No, I've seen that, like with Blu-ray or something. Which one?
No, the porn industry definitely did a lot for home video shit.
Yeah.
Shout
to them.
So we'll keep going to now we're at my maybe favorite scene of the movie is this bus scene, where like everyone's talking on the bus. Like I said, the same kind of dialogue where everyone's like talking just like randomly. So I'll just read some of my favorite quotes. So it starts with kind of Michelle saying, "What's incredible is that to reassure people, you simply have to deny the fact." Oh, Charles says that. "What's incredible is that to simply reassure people, you have to simply deny the facts." And then Michelle says, "What facts? This is supernatural. Nothing is clear." And then he says, "You're incredible," and that's and then
you're incredible.
But then this guy says because they started accusing the governments of like not being able to help people and stuff, and then one guy says, "Don't accuse governments. No government in the world today can boast its actual government. It's actually governing. It's the masses who determine events, obscure forces whose laws are unfathomable." And then someone else says, "It's true that something is driving us against our will." And then someone else says, "You have to go along with it." And then someone else says, "We do go along with it." And then someone says, "Who? Who is that making a mockery of humanity? The devil, probably."
Yeah.
And then Charles, after he says the devil, probably, Charles nudges Michelle like, "Hey, that's the movie."
Hey,
like,
that's like,
something like that. It's like he like calls him, but then he nudges him. Right after that, the bus stops. This bus driver just gets out of the bus randomly and just like walks off. And then we hear some cars crash in the background, almost like this either. I don't know what he's doing.
Oh, I thought the bus driver rear-ended the car in front of him.
Did he rear-end and then get out?
And I think that's what happened.
Okay.
But I could easily be wrong. So
no,
I thought that's what happened because he was paying attention to the conversation so much that he rear-ended the car.
No, that's not the movie. That's not the movie. The scene ends.
Bro, how could you pay attention? You just said the movie title. Exactly. Like, I would do the same thing. You know?
No, but we'll keep. Yeah, I just love that scene too. Like. It's just a good, like you said, it's an interesting way to get a lot of dialogue in just a single shot.
Yes.
That was always interesting.
Well, it's just also an interesting way of showing, like, these are common people that are on the bus, obviously. And, like, what is the common refrain for, like, everything that's happening? It's like, oh, I mean, the devil, like, especially back in the day, like, back in whenever, like, people actually believed in the devil, like, oh, it's the devil probably, you know?
But it's almost like
the devil's
like, I like how you're saying that, because you're comparing, like, someone to say that in the past, but you understand that feeling today. Like, like he's saying that obscure forces driving us against our will. Okay, one explanation is the devil, probably. All right, that's as good as any other effort.
Exactly.
Like,
she always loves eating my jacket.
Sorry, a cat's making me laugh in the background.
Nilla, Dany's cat is eating my jacket.
Yeah,
so she loves that jacket.
It was funny. Anyway, I got distracted.
No cats in this movie, unfortunately.
Dog in the next
it's
one.
It's not top 2%.
There's one in the next one?
Dog in the next one.
Okay, we'll save that. That is an important dog, actually.
Important.
Very good.
Very good boy.
Yes.
Well,
maybe not.
He could have done a better job protecting.
So we'll keep going in the movie. Like maybe the next important stuff is like right before they go to the church. Do you remember what they're doing? They're like shooting up heroin.
No, yeah. Well, I
can relate.
I don't think I don't think Charles is shooting up heroin. I think he's trying to help the heroin addict.
Oh, okay.
Because he's the one, like the heroin addict. I'm pretty sure the heroin addict was like.
Do we not
ODing, but no, Charles doesn't use it, I don't think. Okay. Like, what it seems like to me in this scene is like Charles is trying to help this dude, obviously. Like, especially whenever they go to the church later, like he's hoping this will help him or something, maybe. But, like, it feels like he's just giving him an administration of heroin so that he can start weaning him off of it. But that's what it seemed like to me.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah, because that actually that makes more sense in terms of, like, because we see them, or you see him inject it, try to go to sleep, and like he still can't go to sleep.
Yeah.
Another very modern thing about our generation is like no one sleeps.
Yeah.
And like literally like everyone I work with like around my age will say like I can't sleep or.
Bro, I really struggled to sleep last night.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't happen all the time. It's just like
okay.
But,
but that's just another thing. Like he's like trying to sleep, and then they wake back up, and then that's when like they're talking about the church where Bresson says not Bresson. He says they're like reading the quote, and they're Victor Hugo, and he says cathedrals are divine, holy until a priest shows up, but then God's no longer present. Too far, don't you think? And then the guy that's injecting the drugs, he just says me and God, and he's like has a sigh.
Me and God, yeah.
And it's like, damn, like you kind of understand everything. He's like, you don't understand everything he's thinking, but you kind of get that what he's saying. Like,
for sure.
He just like doesn't want to think about it, or is like, I don't know.
Well, that's just like him saying like, oh, me and God both have the same idea on priest, basically.
Oh,
like,
okay, all right. No, because then the friend's like, Charles says we're still doing it right. And we don't know what they're talking about yet. And the friend's like, on one condition. And he's like, all right. And then it cuts to a hard cut of the friend injecting more heroin before they can go.
Yeah.
But then we start hearing the Ave Maria on the soundtrack. One of the few times we hear music. And then we just see them both laying on the ground. Honestly, one of my favorite shots of the movie is him. Just he's listening to the music. Just his head up, like, just thinking. We don't know what he's thinking about. But then, like, we see the friend go and, like, go start to steal the money. And he's just still, like, hasn't moved, just looking up, thinking about something. And it's just, like, one of my favorite shots. And I love how it ends, too, because it ends with we'll talk about this more with L'Argent, but it ends with how Bresson sees cops. and priest are basically the same. Because the way the cops walk in, they like walk in from the back of the church, and they kind of like approach like. Do you guys remember how in my head it reminds me of like in Balthazar when the cop approaches the drunk who's like in the house, and he's like you see him walk slowly from the back. It's like very similar. While you see the cops kind of like slowly approach from the back, like to the front, kind of just like to stop. Like what that quote I just read. Actually, I do have a similar quote from Bresson, basically kind of similar to that Victor Hugo quote, but I'll read it. So, quote. The young man cannot feel God's presence in the daytime with people moving about and the priest there. He goes to find something which he could rely on, but something happens. The police come. I'm sure there are young people who commit suicide because they can't find this anymore. And it's like, I love how he sees like priests and police as the same. Yeah. These like authority figures that kind of like stop spirituality or like stop any kind of way of living. You know.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll talk about more L'Argent because the cops are like all over the place in L'Argent.
Yeah.
And then he does get arrested, and then he's at the police station. And they ask him, "What were you doing with that record player?" And he's, "Do you refuse to answer?" And he's like, "No, but you wouldn't believe me if I told you."
Yeah.
I just love that too, like because even if he told them, like,
and the cop basically like hit him or something.
Yeah, they hit him right after that. Exactly. Honestly, I'll mention it now because it came into my mind. I think it's Kent Jones. He mentions how Bresson's use of the cops in L'Argent, but you could say that similar here is very similar to how Chaplin uses cops in modern times. Kind of this like just an authority figure that's like always coming from the side of the. L'Argent's way more. You'll notice like cops are always coming from the side of the screen or from the back, just kind of intruding on stuff.
Yeah. No, I know that. I know that whenever we reviewed Prison on Fire, you brought up L'Argent as a similarity in terms of how they like filmed the prison life, basically.
Okay. We'll bring that up again because I have to think about that. I forgot about I mentioned that.
Yeah.
So which movie's better?
I mean, I love Prison on Fire so much.
Oh, so is he saying that's better than L'Argent, Dany? No, I'm joking. I'm just instigating.
Yeah, he is instigating. But okay, now we'll go to the psychoanalyst scene. There's like a lot of talking that Blake said, obviously. But I'll mention. I just want to read a couple. I'll read a quote. I have a lot, but I'll read a couple. So quote. How did this clash with society arise? It's my normal state. I've kept it quiet for a long time. Don't you get pleasure from non-action? Yes, but the pleasure of despair, obviously. Do you feel guilty? Guilty. Toward yourself? And then he says, guilty without being so. I know I'm more intelligent than the others. I'm perfectly aware of my superiority. But if I did something, then I'd be useful, even in some small way, in a world that disgusts me. I'd betray ideas. It would only entrench me further. I prefer to know that there's no way out. And it's like, that's exactly that feeling moment, you know, like what I've been saying, like this whole movie is about like he keeps searching for something that he can feel like he can commit himself to and he just doesn't find it, you know.
Yes.
It's also the superiority aspect of the guy in Pickpocket and the guys that Dostoevsky.
The Nietzschean kind of I'm a superior being kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. But
I do even feel like what he's saying in that is like something even young people today can relate to. It's like, why should I try to like improve society, or not even like improve society, but work to benefit society whenever the society is not doing the same thing for me, basically.
Or it's like,
or it's not even worth
the work is actually making it negative.
Yeah,
you know, like
for sure.
Yeah, you know, like why would I help something that just feels like it's destroying the world instead of helping it? You know, like he says literally, even in a small world. But if I did something then I'd be useful, even in some small way, in a world that disgusts me.
Yeah.
No, and then he keeps going because they say, he says, isn't begging in the streets, as I've seen people like you do, a bit degrading? And he says, charity degrades the donor just as much as the recipient. And then I love this moment because like I think Bresson is kind of like making a point like he doesn't really like psychoanalysis, obviously, but because like this guy, they're not having a real conversation because like at this point he like the guy like looks down like at his notes like he's like interviewing him, and if you notice his posture, he's like kind of, it looks like he's like a journalist like interviewing him, like he's like on trial or something, you know, not like how you would think like a therapist would be. But he's like and then he says, but isn't that a good excuse for laziness? And then he says, perhaps, but what's up? But so what? If my aim was money and profit, everyone would respect me.
And he looks right over into the cabinet into the guy's open drawer that has all the money in it.
Damn, I didn't even notice that.
No, I love that. I love that shot because he says that, and then he like looks right in the drawer that has all the money, and the guy closes it right after.
Damn.
Like right after he like walks away. It's so good.
And then do you remember the like right after this he like once he goes to like he stands up and lights a cigarette on the guy's desk. It's just such a badass.
And this man never smokes cigarettes. You can obviously tell.
Really?
Oh, for sure. It's just,
is
he goes like
I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah, he's just like he's just the guy like first he's holding it wrong, but he's just like puffing it and they just throws it away.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He literally does it just to like do it in front of this.
Yeah, I mean I can respect that. Like
okay, and then this is the last thing because there's a lot more, but you kind of just have to watch the scene. But the one I wanted to read was like he like picks up this like newspaper, and because the guy says isn't being right compensation for being alive? And then the guy Charles says, in losing my life, here's what I lose. And he like opens this newspaper with like a bunch of ads or something.
Yeah.
He says, family planning, package holidays, cultural, sporting, linguistic, the cultivated man's library, all sports, how to adopt a child, parent-teacher associations, education, teaching, 0 to 4, 0 to 7 through 14, 14 through 17, preparation for marriage, military duties, Europe, decorations, honorary insignias, the single woman, paid sick leave, unpaid sick leave, the successful man, tax benefits for the elderly, local taxes, hire purchase, radio and TV rentals, credit card, home repairs, index linking, VAT and consumers. Yeah. And he just tears up, and he just tosses
Bresson dissing sports, you know?
All sports, yeah. No,
okay.
No, Bresson loves sports.
Okay, sure.
You love sports.
Yeah, of course, yeah, sure.
No, but I just wanted to read that because it's just like random words you hear from like you would just see in a newspaper and stuff, you know, just like things you're being sold on, like, okay, this is why you should live, you know, ignore like what I've been saying, like this kind of greater thing that's happening, these relationships that are happening around you.
The realities of the world, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very they live.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I think They Live has a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, yeah, because like the fight scene in They Live is almost about like getting someone else to try to see it that way of how hard it is to realize
hard it is to get someone to actually look at the real problems.
Exactly.
Yeah, or see the world how it really is.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Great movie.
Great movie. And we saw it in theaters.
It's all right.
You didn't watch it in theaters, and you had the chance to. So.
And you had the chance to.
Hearing that score, bro, in a theater, it's like.
I think I might have been working, actually. I don't remember. I might have been working.
No, you just don't want to go. I remember.
I make sure that maybe.
It was a Wednesday. Do you work on Wednesdays?
Sometimes, yeah, quite a bit actually.
Okay.
It's all right though.
Oh my gosh. But okay, the last quote. I know I said the other one, but the last one is like because I remember I mentioned Schopenhauer when I mentioned suicide a few weeks ago. How like
that's a fire name, by the way.
Schopenhauer.
What the? Oh my gosh.
Great philosopher too. Even though I haven't read it that much. Really,
okay. I might need to.
But I remember how he said like he had mentioned how it's really only in Christianity you see like suicide as like a purely negative thing.
Yeah.
Because we see in this quote where the guy asks him, "Do you believe in God?" and he says, "I believe as far as possible in everlasting life. But if I commit suicide, I can't think I'd be condemned for it, for not comprehending the incomprehensible." And it's like that's where you can see the difference between like Bresson as a Christian, like a church kind of like more doctrinal Christian versus the kind of Christian Bresson really is. It's like more spiritual, I guess.
Well, I mean, I had that quote on Mouchet. Let me find it real quick. Or whenever it wasn't on Mouchet, it was just like what Bresson was saying basically about suicide that applied to Mouchet. But he says like there are so many reasons for suicide, good and bad. I believe that the church has become less rigorous against it. Sometimes it is inevitable, and not always because of madness. To be aware of a certain emptiness can make life impossible.
Yes.
It's so many of his movies are about that.
Yeah.
Or about that feeling of like life is impossible for a lot of people.
Dude, I love that last line you said. What was it? To where emptiness? Something about emptiness to realize.
Realizing, here, let me find it. Again.
Emptiness to realize life is impossible, or something like that.
Yeah.
Because one of the core concepts
to be aware of a certain emptiness can make life impossible.
Yes. But you could say in some ways that's what like Buddhism's whole idea is like, life is suffering, right? Yes. Life is impossible. And especially in like more Mahayana Buddhism, which comes later, is like one of the core concepts is the idea of emptiness. Like they go a long time on the Sanskrit word is sunyata, but emptiness is like I love that I use that word is like to realize that life is suffering is almost a kind of emptiness, you know. But instead of like suicide in the literal sense that we see in this movie, Buddhism is almost like offering a different kind of suicide, you know, like
the suicide of the self. So.
Yes, exactly, the self or this living to this world kind of thing, being attached to this world.
Yeah, we'll get to like we've been kicking around different ideas. Like we love doing directors for our series, but we have been kicking around some different ideas. And I know that me and you both have this, or I have this book, and you want to read it of like seeing like the Buddha or seeing film like the Buddha or something like that is the book's title, and that might be a series we do because like spring, summer, winter, fall, and spring is like a perfect Buddhist parable, honestly, because it's like you have this temple on a lake that's unmoving. And that's what Buddhism is basically trying to say is like, we're here, we're not going to move, even if like the problems of the world can come in here, but we're going to still stay the same. Yes. Like, it's like this rock in the water, basically, that where all the suffering of life flows around it, but you're just living in the moment, basically. Yes,
and like helping us realize that we can, even though the world changes, we can see in a certain way to help us realize that can give us certain peace. Yeah. And I think that's why I love Bresson's films, because that's why I get out his movies, you know. But because I know I want to do something like that too. Yeah, that would be honestly a good book. Like,
it would be a good book to do.
But, we'll keep going in the movie. We're basically at the end where he goes to buy a gun. You know, he's able to. This is very relatable to America, but he's easily able to buy a gun to kill himself. Of course, in France he has to do it illegally, but here you can just do it simply, easily, legally. But yeah, so he goes and buys the gun, and like this has another great shot where he's like waiting for the guy to go get it, and he's just like standing on the ledge of the bridge.
Oh, this is some
right, just like watching people walk, kind of just like it's very similar to Mouchette. The scene is very similar to Mouchette and A Gentle Woman, where like we don't know that we're watching their last moment. I guess this one we kind of do because we get the but anyway, like we're watching their last moments, but we don't know what they're thinking. We just know they're thinking something basically as he's just standing there watching people. Yes. And then he gets the gun, and he goes on the train. It's the same thing. We get this long shot of him, like probably 30 seconds of just him standing on the train, just like as the train is going. He's like
with his friend.
He's with his friend because I skipped it, but he's already asked his friend to help him do suicide. Yeah. Actually, I did forget because I need to mention the psychoanalyst scene one more time because the way this ends is funny. Is the guy's like worried that he's not going to be able to pay because he's like it's going to be 200 francs. And then the guy, he's like, "Oh, I'll pay." He says something, "I'll pay next time" or something. And he's about to walk out, and then he walks back in to sit down. He keeps talking more.
No, I thought he paid him. He paid him.
Does he pay him this time?
That's what I thought was so funny about this scene, about the ending of that scene, because he pays him the 200 francs, starts walking out, and then comes back in like he's there for the session, basically.
No, because the reason why I say he doesn't pay him is because he's about to walk out. He walks back down, starts talking, and he says, "I don't think I'll ever be able to." And the doctor interrupts and says, "Oh, to pay?" Because he's like still worried about the money. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. And then he says, "To do the deed, to think I would suddenly stop thinking, seeing, hearing. That's why I entrust." And then the doctor says, which I want to bring this up, the doctor says, "That's why the Romans entrusted a servant or friend with the task." And the reason why I think that's important is the same reason I mentioned Mouchette, where like the lady like almost like suggests her killing, like her suicide, like without her knowing, like. This is almost the same thing the doctor does. Like, Charles literally takes the doctor's advice in the scene.
Oh, for sure.
Like literally, he literally goes and like does what the Romans advise. But yeah, so that's how he basically ends up going and getting the idea to go like ask the friend to do it, and the friend's like all too willing, and ends with that's where I mentioned the famous music, not famous, but the scene I love.
And you mentioned the Rio Bravo.
Connecting
exactly. It to that, yeah.
You saw him.
It's like anti. Yes, yeah. Oh,
it's very brief in this one though. Yeah, the music. I wish it lasted longer.
But like I was like, it's so funny. Like the music is just such like a usual it sounds like something that'd be in a usual movie that'd be the turning point. Like it truly sounds like that.
When he would actually have the turning point.
Yeah.
Well, and like this is why I love Bresson. It's like he wants you. The turning point should only be in your head. Yeah. That's where Bresson is like the difference.
Unless it's Rio Bravo. Unless it's Rio Bravo. That's amazing too.
No.
It's
a solid movie.
You love that moment though.
Oh, that moment, yes.
Yeah, like when he hears the music. Okay.
Yes. Honestly, the musical moments are some of the best and are very great.
Oh my gosh.
That's a good movie.
Let's turn to Rio Bravo movie.
Yeah. I'll say great.
Okay.
You got me turning around.
Howard Hawks. You got me turning. We up? No. But yeah, amazing moment.
No, but yeah, we're basically at the end. Like, he stops for a second. You think maybe he'll change, but keeps walking. And then they keep walking. They go to this, I think it might be a graveyard.
I
think it might be
a graveyard for sure.
Definitely graveyard. And then he goes, gives them the gun. They start walking, like I mentioned before, where it's like, he says, at a time like this, I thought I'd have sublime thoughts. Shall I tell you? and right before he's about to start talking, boom! Like the
Yeah.
gun. It's like the most surprising gunshot ever.
It is.
Especially like I knew it was coming, but like it still surprises me all of a sudden because you're like every time I watch it,
It's
like,
why
oh, maybe
it's-
he'll get it out this time. You know,
It's
or
why
something.
it's so tense because like I knew this was the moment he was obviously going to die, but you never know when it's going to happen. And then you just see the friend or the guy that he chose to like do this like just slowly get further behind him basically like he's getting prepared to like do it.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh shit. And then he says that and you're like, okay, and then it just happens. It's fucking insane.
No,
it's like Killers of the Flower. It's
No,
like
I
I was
love
saying
it.
with
or it's like a lot of
Irishman too.
Scorsese movies.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Casino,
Scorsese movies,
Casino.
I know Scorsese
Goodfellas,
said,
like-
especially in his later movies, though, he like started to really be aware of like trying to make the kills as quick as possible.
Okay, yeah, that.
To kind of like not glorify, to make the opposite of glorifying.
It's just funny. It's like thinking of that, like yeah, it doesn't want to do that. And you think about the casino scene where Joe Pesci dies. When like he gets, it's like they go like, oh, it's like so drawn out, but it's like so good.
Oh, that one's great.
But it's like brutal though. That
one's brutal because like just watching Joe Pesci's like nervousness and stuff.
Oh my god. Well, and he's like literally like it's like because they throw him in the grave
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
like an open. Okay, anyway.
But for this one, like to go back to this one, I do love the kind of just cruelty of it all. You know, kind of just besides this point again, like even in this like friend that kills him at the end, it's really not a friend. It's just guy's doing this for his money. Like shoots him once.
Oh, it could easily be read as a mugging.
A mugging, kind of just like he shoots him like an assassin. You know, like he's a paid assassin.
Sure.
You know, no emotion at all.
Well, at the beginning of the movie, they say, don't they say? They say, oh, this guy committed suicide, but then it cuts to another newspaper where it says like, it's actually been declared murder now.
Does it say?
I think
that?
it says that at the beginning, right? I
don't
think it does.
So.
I think
I know
it does.
I knew newspaper for sure that says suicide or something.
But then it said, but then like it said it pops up
could
again,
possibly be
and
suicide?
or
I
it said like it's now been ruled a murder.
I need to look at that.
I think it does do that, unless I'm thinking of another movie. But I'm pretty sure this is the.
The reason why I'm not sure is because before he made this movie, I told that Paul Schrader interview I've been quoting a lot through that series. He does mention that, I'll just read the quote. The way this young person wants to die is he doesn't kill himself. He makes himself be killed. The old Robin Hood people used to commit suicide with the help of friends. He kills himself for a big purpose. It's funny that he says that, but it's almost like, in a way, that this character thinks he's doing that, but the way the friend kills him is the exact opposite. You know, it's just very cold-blooded, like, no purpose at all. Like,
yes.
Yeah. And then I love how it ends. Just the character just runs into the black with footsteps, and that's it. You know, no music, just not like literally just like my file literally just goes.
Dude,
way
well,
after,
I watched both these on Criterion, and I was shocked that it just like literally both movies just fucking end. Like,
yeah,
honestly,
exactly.
Just cuts
no
right
music
to the
or anything. You're
it's
like
insane.
No hope, you know. It's like, especially the black. I love the black that kind of you hear these footsteps just like fade into the black as the movie ends, and that's you know. But yes, I guess in a way pessimistic. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's funny because I think we've mentioned a few times like throughout the movies where there's non-pessimistic moments. Yeah. But like I said, especially thematically, a lot of the stuff we brought up may be pessimistic. But as you watch the movie, it's almost like Bresson's way of saying like it's not all pessimism because there's this art too, right? That we get to watch and like enjoy at the same time.
Because I'm just such a good filmmaker.
Yeah.
Because I'm just so good.
Like. Yeah, exactly. The rhythm of images. But yeah,
this one definitely feels pessimistic.
Yes.
No, I'm trying to find that scene of him paying. He does pay, by the way.
Check the beginning too. Check the beginning too. Because I'm pretty sure it says they later ruled dead. Or
check the beginning.
Check the beginning.
Yeah,
the newspaper.
But I do. While I was looking for that, I do love like one of my favorite quotes in the entire movie comes in the psychoanalyst scene where he's like, where the doctor's like, "Oh, I'll prescribe you something." He's like, "But doctor, my only problem is like I'm seeing too clearly." Like that's his only problem.
Yeah. The same kind
of. That's why that's another reason why I just feel super pessimistic though, because like if you see that clearly how the world basically is, it is really hard to live. Like
yes. Yeah. And maybe to close out, and we'll get more into this idea with L'Argent, but I wanted to read a Kent Jones quote that kind of gets to this point that you're kind of saying about like you kind of have to see this change totally. I'll read the quote. It's a quote.
Suicide was murder.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was saying.
It says what?
It says suicide was murder.
Yes, because
suicide was murder.
It shows that after the initially shows it's a suicide, and then it shows suicide was murder. Yeah, I knew I wasn't.
But was it murder?
I know exactly, but
it's like literally this is like right in the between, you know.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It's two different newspapers.
That's what I was saying. It's
two different
newspapers.
Like they're both reporting.
They're reporting. Yeah, damn.
Damn.
That's
honestly,
really
I honestly thought.
No, they're not the same.
It was just
They're not the same.
Just
They're
like a little
different
bit later, but
newspapers.
Damn,
okay.
honestly,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay, I knew it had that in there though. I knew it wasn't going crazy. I was like, okay, this wasn't arsenic with an old lace or something, right? Like, no. Anyway.
Okay, but to close it out before we go to our break, I'll read this quote because I love how you brought "They Live" because I hadn't thought about it at all, but it does a really good job of showing us like if you want to see this different way of living, it has to be almost has to be complete, you know. Like, and I'll read the quote and it makes sense. So, quote, and he's talking about this kind of sense of resignation that people had in the 60s or the 70s that this movie uses. So, quote, as I look back on it now, it's no mistake that many of us who held on to this sense of resignation went into the arts. So profound was our sense that the real political change had ceased to be possible. Change had to be total or it was meaningless. And it's kind of like, I think what Bresson is saying, like, change has to be total in some ways, you know, like the way of seeing this way of seeing, you know, has to be total. Because it is depressing, you know.
Well, and also, like, I know, like, Japan had this problem also after World War II of, like, that's, like, the Sun Tribe myth. That's the whole thing of, like, the Sun Tribe myth is, like, these disaffected youths after, like, they don't know their purpose in life, basically. Like, and so many filmmakers in Japan in the golden era were filming those lives, basically. And it's, like, filmmakers, like Bresson kind of is, like, saying is, like, the arts choose to, like, show that, basically.
Yes.
Like, it's not even just, like, making people see it is like something that you have to do also.
Yes.
Like making them aware that this is even a problem.
Like I said,
because a lot of people don't think there's problems in the world.
No,
like
or
this.
they
So
can
you
use
have to force
like
them to see it by actually making a movie. So.
Like that Fassbender quote that I said that how a lot of people just want to escape into an occupation instead.
Yeah.
You know,
escapism. You know,
That also makes me remind me of the scene in Clockwork Orange too.
Which one?
Of him being forced to watch the reality of the world.
Okay, another thing like that. Yes. Yeah. They Live in Clockwork Orange kind of have that same thing, honestly.
They do.
Like literally trying to force you to wear the glasses or something. But yeah, that's that will probably. We'll come back with Larsan after this break. And we are back from the break to talk about Bresson's last film, when he made when he was 83 years old.
Came out. What was he born in 1900 though?
Yes, which is funny.
Okay,
I was just learning this. I was re-listening to the. I highly recommend it. Just on YouTube, just search Larsan Linklater, and you'll see when his Austin Film Society they watched Larsan. He talks about it after. It's a great video. But he talks about apparently like when Bresson's whole life, or for most of his life, people thought he was born in like 1907. But then they only found out later he was actually born in 1900. Damn. So yeah, he was 83 because this came out in 83.
Yeah, I was saying that's why I said was he born?
Yeah, so either he's 82 or 83, like around that age when this came out. Which is crazy because, like you were saying earlier, this has a very youthful energy to it. Like this is maybe some of his fastest movie in some ways. Like in terms of how unending it is and like how fast it flows. Like when I said French, maybe in the thematic content, like Devil Probably is more like the French New Wave. But now that I'm thinking about it, like Godard's 60s movies have this kind of youthful energy you're talking. We're kind of mentioning where it's like they feel like there's so many ideas and they just have to get them all out to you so fast. You know, Godard movies feel like that's why they feel so passionate in some ways. It's like even when they kind of feel confusing and stuff, it's like you could tell he just has so much stuff he like almost wants to get off his chest and stuff. But like that's what L'Argent feels like too, with how fast it is. But I don't know. Would you guys agree with that?
Like I said in my Letterboxd review, it's like his images have never been more alive. I feel like in this movie,
alive. How so?
Just as you were saying, like the youthful kind of energy to it.
Right.
Like it's like I don't even know how to explain it. It just is, just like how it is. I mean,
but it's a funny way to describe this movie because you could say like his images have never felt more alive, but the world is shown as almost like a dead world.
And yeah, I guess, but it's like I don't know. It's hard to say.
But that's kind of what I'm saying. Is like that's what Bresson is trying to say. Is like even in this world, like we can still feel alive somehow. It's like by the way we see things.
And I think also just what I love most about this movie is just like the chain reaction. It's like it's just so good. Like just like the fact that all of this started just from like these two kids, like
two assholes.
Basically. That's the whole point. That's not the start, right?
Like
that's just one part of the movie. We're starting from. That's where the movie starts from, but that's just one part of where we're coming in. Like, this counterfeit bill already existed.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
But what about you, Blake? Is there anything that comes to your mind?
No, yeah. So, you've been telling me to watch L'Argent for a while, and
like I tell everyone, basically.
Like you tell everyone, but you should have said. You know those two fucking guys in Rebels of the Neon God? You should watch L'Argent because the two guys, the two young kids we follow in this are the exact same. Like,
okay,
like it's like the exact same, honestly. Like the two French kids that we follow in this, like they're only one part of the story, obviously.
Yeah.
Whereas in size, it's their. Well, I mean, they're still just a part of the stories, kind of weaving in that one too, technically, but. But no, like these, like it starts off with the kids, and like whenever it started off with them, I was like, Dany, you should have just told me this, and I would have watched it immediately.
Okay, keep going, because I'm curious.
Well, because it's just the way they act, the way they're kind of about in the world, and the way he films them stealing stuff is very similar to the way Sai is filming the kids in Rebels of the Neon God.
Okay.
Because it's showing like L'Argent is showing the point that led but like the chain reaction that kind of led these kids to maybe like even using counterfeit bills. Like we don't see what led to this point of them actually using it. Yeah. But we can assume that there's something that caused that. Just like we can assume in Rebels, like there's a reason these guys are stealing.
Yes.
We don't know the exact reason why.
And honestly, maybe just the relationship between the two too. Like one of them looks up to the other one.
Yeah.
Like as almost like hero kind of. I'm still like I would not have got that for sure. Obviously, like I definitely should have told Blake.
You should have.
I can definitely see how you're.
Well, you'd only seen Rebels.
I never connected. I never connected that either. Like,
yeah, maybe.
So you're saying
Luke is the one you should get mad at because he's more of a.
Well, I've seen. I guess it's because I've seen Rebels a lot more, like many more times than you guys.
Yeah.
Plus, no, I can definitely see that. I've seen like their relationship.
Honestly,
that kind of rebellious attitude they have too. Because there's that moment later on where like the kid has basically gotten away with it, but he like comes and like sticks his tongue out at that woman.
Yeah.
And that starts a new chain reaction where like, he gets in trouble again because of just like that little decision. But yeah, there's so to get in L'Argent before we get to the movie, there's like some stuff I wanted to mention was first I want to read some quotes from Bresson that kind of maybe describe this movie. So quote: I think in the whole world things are going very badly. People are becoming more and more materialistic and cruel, but cruel in another way than in the Middle Ages. Cruel by laziness, by indifference, egotism, because they think only about themselves and not at all about what is happening around them, so that they let everything grow ugly, stupid. They all are interested in money only. Money is becoming their god. God doesn't exist anymore for many. Money is becoming something you must live for. And then... but see, that's actually the first point, which is, I mean, obviously the movie's called L'Argent.
Well, also, there's a little quote in the movie, "Oh, money, God incarnate."
Yes,
that's literally like exactly what.
Exactly. Yes, but that character saying that as a positive, but like Bresson is like seen as a negative, you know. But it's funny. It's like that. The last movie I said, "The Devil Probably," is like people can't find anything to believe in, really, when they search. But really, this is the one thing people do believe in, like truly, is money. Like. That's why people work, most people say that's why they work hard to get better jobs, to get better paying jobs is, money at the end of the day. No, that's why, like, it is something, it's so funny, like the way I always say it is, like, the proof that most people believe in money when they don't believe in much other things is, like, when like people are like making like kind of just like hypothetical scenarios of getting people to do things, like, okay, would you eat this like random thing or something? Like the one way to do it is to ask people, would you do it for $1 million? You know, and really to get people to do it is just increase the money, right? Because that's all you have to do is because that's what people believe in, right? But it's not like, but if like in old times you might be like, would you go to heaven or something? Like if you see what I'm saying, like basically that's what people's priorities are now. Like what they believe in is that kind of money. There's a lot of ways I could go with that, but that's kind of why I love this movie. Is like you said, there's you guys both kind of mentioned the chain reaction we get in the movie. This kind of idea with the counterfeit bill, but really it's like, to me, this movie kind of makes you think about how really money travels in the world. You know, like we talked a little bit about environmentalism in The Devil Probably, but this movie kind of makes me think about it too, even though it doesn't specifically talk about it in terms of just being like, this is. Like, if you really think about where our money's produced and how America becomes the richest continent to ever exist, it's not just an accident, you know? It's like, it starts from an innocent that gets fucked over, basically, by how this movie is, you know? But yeah. But I'm sure we'll talk about more about money in the movie as it goes through. But the other quote I wanted to read by Bresson is, quote, "In my film, when the women are going to die, I wanted to appear there's something after death. That's why when people become so materialistic, religion is not possible. Because every religion is poverty, and poverty is the way of having contact with mystery and with God." And I kind of love that idea. It's like what I mentioned at the beginning in terms of, like, one of my favorite Bresson's quotes is his idea of, quote, no absolute idea in the image, you know? And that's his almost idea. That's like kind of a religious idea in terms of anti-materialism, right? Because you would say materialism is about having the image or whatever's in front of you, the object has value, right? Bresson's almost saying the exact opposite, which is kind of a spiritual idea. But that's why I don't see Large John as a pessimistic movie, you know? Because it's like he's showing you this is what the material world is.
Okay.
He's not saying that's all it is. He's showing this is what the material world is. But if you want something to believe in, it has to be something else, you know? It's like he's really challenging you. Like, Bresson's movies, to me, are like some of the most challenging in terms of, like, he's really forcing you to think about questions yourself. Like, okay, if the world is like this, and you truly believe that, what are your options? What are your answers? You know?
Yes.
And, like, Bresson has his own answers, you know? Just, like, for him, it could just be focusing on doors. And, like, you see so many fucking doors in this movie. It's insane. But, like, you can tell, like, he probably spent so much time just looking at doors in his life and stuff like that. But you get so much stuff like that in his movies. But I think that's why I don't... Like, the more I watch Large John, it's not pessimistic, you know? It's more, like, about being truthful about the pessimism in the world, but still finding ways to... or reasons to live otherwise, yes. You know? But is there anything that comes to mind when I say that? Like... No?
I mean, honestly, that's a really good way to put it.
Okay. But the one other thing I wanted to mention before we get into the movie specifically is the color in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you guys didn't mention the color, really. Is there anything that stands out about the color?
A lot of the greens.
Greens,
like, really,
okay, yes.
And the browns, too, very much stand out.
The end of the movie.
Yes.
The end of the movie's
green. Whenever he's picking the tree or whatever, the nuts off the tree. Oh, yes. Fuck, man.
What color
those colors
are
so. The
red?
nuts are like greenish.
Okay.
But the whole thing is just green, blue, and yellow, basically.
Yes.
So
okay.
It reminds me of like it's an animated movie, but it reminds me of Only Yesterday, like that scene specifically.
Oh, when they're picking.
Yeah, well, just that type of like color, the type of like it's really vibrant.
It gives you that feeling.
Yeah, it's really vibrant.
No, because Bresson's color in this is like very specific. Like he used, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the episode, like almost like I said, what Bresson said, like because no images have value in themselves, the way you create meaning is through the relationship between the images. The same is the way he uses color in his movies. It's not like necessarily like one scene specifically that has color that you're like, damn, that has a amazing use of color. But like over the course of the movie, you just get this feeling of, okay, you're in this scenario, you get these colors. If you're in this environment, you get these colors, and you just get that feeling. And so I'll give a couple examples, like, and this is from the book by Raymond Watkins. So I think it's called Late Visual Style in Bresson, and he goes in detail about a lot of his movies. But in this one is. He mentions how, for one example of the use of Large John's colors is you can notice in the change of clothing of the characters. And so for a few examples of that is like, so he mentions how when a character moves from like one environment to another, they'll actually change their clothes sometimes to match the new environment they're going to. And so he says first that both the black and whites used in this movie, he says, are used as kind of transitional colors. And so he says black are... So He says black is most often used to highlight a character's transition from a setting requiring a work uniform to another space. So basically, if they're going from work to somewhere else, they wear black as like a transition. And he mentions a few examples. Then he says white, and this is a better example of when he uses color. Is he says he'll often introduce white in a scene right before he introduces like a primary vibrant color, almost like a background. You know, like a paint, like a white canvas, almost like literally. And then he'll introduce like a bright color. And a few examples of that is he says is the white oil truck we see at the very beginning with his red gloves. Like it's like we see the white truck and then we see his like red gloves enter. You know, to kind of like just put like red on white, kind of like to emphasize it. Then we see like an all white ambulance. We see all white laundry.
Well, is the coffee mug she's holding in that one scene? Is that white?
It is.
Yes.
And then the coffee spills.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, there's a lot like that. Yep. The white uniforms we see from the hospital staff. And then we're gonna red is my favorite example in the movie, and I'm gonna point him out as we go across. But basically, you'll notice he uses red almost like a horror movie would use like a jump cut.
Yeah. Okay.
You'll notice like I said, the gloves at the beginning. It's honestly it's like one of the most cruelest shots in the movie because like how we've been talking about how this like chain reaction happens. You know, where like this money travels in ways the characters can't see. So we've seen like the kid already kind of cause this counterfeit to be out in the open, right? And now this lady's gotten in trouble, and we've already seen the lady be like, okay, they've accepted the counterfeit, they've talked about it, and then all of a sudden it cuts to his gloves being like, yep, and now it's going to pass on to him almost, and he has he can't control it, you know, he's just doing his job. And that's where we see the red too. But there's a few other examples I'll point out throughout the movie. But the other two I wanted to mention was green. He mentions as he says the most important because like this is Bresson's like green movie in some ways.
Oh yeah.
Because like Four Nights of a Dreamer is like his blue movie.
Yeah.
Devil Probably you could say is more like his red movie. But I would say more brown too. Also.
Yeah, red and brown.
Those kind of like darkest colors.
I would say Lancelot's green also, but
yeah, no, Lancelot is like the contrast between the greens and like those like yellowish browns kind of.
In the Steel of the Knights. No.
Yes, no, Lancelot is also green too. But he says, so Raymond Watkins says, in Bresson, green is used to convey stillness, solitude, and isolations, whether in the pastoral remove of the widow's house or in the urban Parisian scenes. Bresson thus indicates a shot or scene with green in many of his long takes, in which models or objects seem frozen in space. I think that's exactly why you guys both pointed out as green, as you noticed, because he is pointing that out for a reason. You know, like almost like he'll freeze characters in those moments when he's showing that green to almost like kind of give you that feeling. You know.
Do you think he's like the green has anything to do like with the connection with money at all, or being green? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely the posters we've seen from LeJean obviously make that connection.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know if he's specifically doing it because
their money's more beige. In the movie,
it was.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess our money,
which was also heavy in this movie too.
Yeah, Brown's very heavy in this movie for sure.
So I guess it's kind of like kind of in control of the world in a way, like.
And so the last color I wanted to mention was blue. And so is there any specific blues that stand out for you?
Oh, their uniforms in the prison. Is it their prison uniforms?
Yeah.
Or
blue? The male uniforms, maybe?
Yeah, the uniform.
I love how you said that because I'll show Blake after, but I know Luke can see it. This is I don't know if you guys have been noticing YouTube. I've been using a painting for the intro for every episode. So this is actually not a painting. This is more like a poster. In the same book, Raymond Watkins has been comparing Bresson to a lot of his techniques to a lot of the Soviet constructionist era of the 20s and 30s. So that's why I like how you mentioned Vertov, and like I've been getting a lot of Vertov vibes from Bresson too, because he sees a lot of the same way, and like in terms of like how a lot of those directors saw how to place how they saw actors basically as like gestures only, like they would freeze their movements in time. But this only wasn't in film. This was also in theater too. And there was a famous theater director called Meyerhold, I think, is his name, a Russian director, that would use very similar techniques that Bresson did in terms of his models of acting and stuff. Yeah. And so this poster you'll see on YouTube, if you go and click on the intro, you'll see this poster of and you can see it here too. You see she's wearing all blue, and there's like just black in the middle, and there's like red lettering on the outside, kind of bold, on a white background. And he points out how he basically, the exact quote is, if it were possible to concentrate the 81 minutes of L'Argent into one image, then the result will be no doubt this Popova sketch, which this sketch is called.
Okay.
I thought that was interesting because like basically what he's pointing out is like if you look at this painting, there's a whole bunch of like this woman's made of like a bunch of rectangles that are all blue, or like, and then there's some rectangles that are black, and there's red on the outside, and basically like she's either a person or like how Bresson sees an image sometimes. It's just abstract shapes on a frame, and you can just put color, throughout it.
Because isn't the old lady wearing blue also?
At
or
the
is she
end,
wearing black? I can't remember.
I should know this.
Yeah, you see it like 8 times.
I don't know. She might be wearing blue too.
Because she's a very abstract idea herself, honestly. So that's why it comes to mind. And I feel like that scene where they're like the nut scene or whatever. Okay, that sounds weird. The berry scene or whatever he picks off the trees. Whatever he's picking off the trees. Like I feel like she's wearing blue in that scene, but I can't remember.
I think you're right.
Because it almost feels like she's like you said, the judge character and like a gentle woman obviously is the maid. It almost feels like this woman in this one is like the judge for him, obviously.
100%. And that's why, I mean, obviously the ending, if you've listened, you know the ending, that's why I think he kills her, Yeah. It's kind of like, at least for the moment, to get rid of that kind of judgment he's feeling when he keeps saying he doesn't feel it, But I guess the one last example of blue I kind of want to mention was the police uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think I've told you guys this before. This has one of my favorite action scenes in a movie.
Yeah. I know exactly what the car chase.
The car chase, yes. But the beginning of it, with how the blues enter with these cops,
yes.
It's just kind of crazy. Because it's so funny. Like, we get this guy reading a newspaper.
Yeah.
And we hear his steps as he's, like, walking kind of blues. And he looks up, and he sees what's going on, and he looks back, and then we hear his footsteps. And all he hears is his footsteps kind of running. And
it's like everyone's in position already, basically.
Yes. But if you think about how that guy's walking, how the cops kind of enter, like I've been saying, like how the cops kind of just enter all of a sudden, these blues kind of enter. Raven Watkins says, quote, "In each example, Bresson uses off-screen space or mirrors to generate anxiety, as if large numbers of police are stationed at the edges of the screen, are perpetually in motion, and are ready to appear at any moment."
Okay.
And then he says, "This representation of police is uncannily similar to the way they appear in Chaplin's Modern Times." Like, in terms of just, this anxiety that cops are, like, every time you see the cops are, like, always, like, looking or, like...
For sure.
Like, especially when he's, like, waiting in the car and, like, just waiting, and all of a sudden the cops, like, driving by slowly, kind of.
Yeah.
They, like, literally they're just appearing out of frame, and they come and look at him, and they go...
Pass by, and they come back, and
exactly, because I think I mentioned that at times Bresson has said he loves City Lights.
Yes.
Some shots of Chaplin. We shots of I have to say the we in there. We. Some shots of Chaplin. But only when he wasn't acting, right?
Yeah.
We.
But yeah, that was basically the colors I wanted to mention. And then, okay, actually, there's 2 more directors. I've watched one, Adam. Do you guys know who Adam Egoyan is?
No.
Egoyan? He made a movie called Exotica.
I've heard of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's a pretty popular movie on Letterboxd. Or the one I watched, I don't know, I'm forgetting the name of. I was hoping Luke might know. Luke sometimes remembers the movies I've watched better than I do. But I'm so bad with names. Hold on. Okay.
I don't even know what Exotica is.
Oh, The Adjuster. That's the one I'm talking about.
I've never seen this guy.
Either way, he had like a kind of a section on Bresson that he wrote. Well, actually, the reason I wanted to read it is because his section he literally wrote is called Notes on L'Argent. And he wrote 10 little aphorisms about L'Argent, so I wanted to read them. So, quote, "No one responds the way we expect them to do. Bresson is entirely comfortable in showing the banal indifference which characterizes most of our actions. Second one, nothing is as thrilling as we want it to be. A bank robbery is almost cruel in its apparent sense of visual deprivation. If education is formulated on making us understand the relationship of action to consequence, Bresson is supreme teacher. He is intolerant of the incasual viewer. Our sense of morality is aroused by having so little with which to immediately identify. We enter because of an apparent void, only to find that decisions have been made without our consent. And then this last one's my favorite. This is alarming yet completely transcendent. Like those last two, we enter because of an apparent void, only to find that decisions have been made without our consent. This is alarming yet completely transcendent. Is like kind of the whole point I've been making. It's like how you said, like, the movie starts there, but in a certain sense it really doesn't start there, right? That's like just one part of the whole process that it's already started before the movie started. You know.
Well, it's like we talked about now, Hazar Balthazar. Once you realize the lack of free will you actually have, the happier you'll probably be. So,
like he says, this is alarming yet completely transcendent. You know, or maybe how Buddhists would say this is an idea of what nirvana is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But it's easy to talk about. It's hard to realize.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we're talking about this whole movie, but how are we supposed to realize that? You know, it's like it's all depressing for the most part. But that's the tough part. And then last director before we go to the movie itself is have any of you guys seen Olivier Assayas?
Oh yeah,
Olivier.
Yeah, I've seen Irma Vep.
Irma Vep. Okay, did you like it?
Oh yeah, it's good. It's good. I think that's the only one I've seen from him though.
I feel like I like it just because of this quote, but no. I've seen one of his, I think, maybe.
Say like
no, I don't think I have.
Personal Shopper or Tiny
I've seen
Shopper?
No,
I've seen Personal Shopper. Yeah.
Okay.
But
that's the only one I've seen.
Because both of these directors too are French, I should mention. Adam Egoyan and Assayas, so it kind of makes sense. They're like known as like Bresson disciples in some ways.
Okay.
But I'll read his quote on L'Argent. L'Argent is a masterpiece of formal audacity, of pure beauty, dedicated to showing raw truth, a harrowing and almost unearthly light that pierces the world with its lucidity. Faith is no longer there. All that is left is meaningless. Nothing transcends the actions of humanity. All that is left is a cold material world, a desolate land where humanity wanders in bondage to diabolical evil. L'Argent is the testament of a director in his 80s. It is also the film of a radical young man, which dares everything, without compromising with the taste of time, its eyes wide open to reality. Look at the picture it leaves us, the world that is ours.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I love that last line too. Look at the picture it leaves us, the world that is ours.
Yeah.
But yeah. That did you guys have anything before we get in the movie?
Doesn't Monty Call have like a long quote about this movie too?
Are you talking about my review? On
yeah, you posted
that. That's actually movie when the movie he's talking about is Pickpocket.
Wait. I thought it was because
he was like talking about his first Bresson movie. It applies to my experience of watching.
Oh, that's like hilarious. I was always
because that's why I started when I came out watching Bresson's film.
So okay, I see what you're doing.
I can read that too. Oh no, I'll maybe read that because this movie is the one that typifies that quote the most, though.
Okay.
You know, but yeah.
Yeah,
you maybe reveal that.
Your secret, you know.
You got to read the book and club.
I'm gonna comment on the review. Fake, you know. It's actually from Pickpocket. Like expose you.
You have to read the book first, and then you're allowed to do that.
You got me.
Okay, good. Or just read the book. God damn. It's a great book.
What's it called? What's it even called?
It's called Uncloven Space.
Okay.
It's basically just a conversation a guy has with him.
It'll go on my list. You know. Anyway.
All right, let's start. I kind of just said that, but it's funny. I haven't read the short story this is based on. It's a Tolstoy short story called "The Counterfeit Bill," which apparently in the L'Argent A to C like special features on Criterion that I've watched, either Linklater or I forgot where I learned this, but either way, the Counterfeit Bill apparently keeps going where this movie stops. So like Bresson like stops this like where apparently it stops like halfway in the book. So like the short story keeps going. So there's two like first it makes me want to read it more because like I don't know why like apparently the short story makes it more optimistic by the end, you know, where there's like more hope shown. Where of course that's why Bresson would stop at halfway. But that makes me
how Bressonian.
And then also, but it is funny. Like I've read all the Dostoevsky his adaptations, but not the Tolstoy one. Like
I don't think I've read a Tolstoy novel at all. Actually,
I haven't. I've read Tolstoy like a nonfiction like essay he wrote called like The Kingdom of Heaven is Within You. Which is actually pretty good. It's like because it's about like a verse in Luke that Lord Jesus literally says that. But no, yeah. So I remember reading that, but Tolstoy's books seem like very long, like.
They are.
Which Dostoevsky's like that too.
Yeah.
They just seem very different. I don't know. From what I know about him, which is not that much. But this one I definitely want to read.
Yeah.
And I have to read War and Peace at some time.
Yeah.
In my life. Like,
same. It's like a movie.
You kind of. Yeah, and that's like 6 hours too, isn't it, or something?
No, but like apparently like it's Sergei Bondarchuk, and apparently he got like a blank check basically from the Russian government to make it. And so it's like apparently like super high scale. Like,
No, I really want to watch it. But
I've seen clips from it. It looks amazing. So.
But yeah, we'll get into the movie. It's so funny. There's actually in the credits. I know this time it says at the end like music J.S. Bach. Do you remember where the music is in this movie? because this is literally like Linklater makes this point, like there's like no music in this, and so when he hears it, he says like it like startles you almost, like holy shit, there's like music all of a sudden.
Oh, was it in the? It's the guy playing the piano, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
And apparently he's playing Bach, so like,
because I
it's
remember
so funny that little moment gets like music, J.S. Bach. It's like that little moment.
But also I just love because I remember specifically, I love how he's like playing the piano. It looks really cool. Like
yes, it's like, but it's we'll get. I mean, we'll talk about that moment now, I guess. But because I love that moment, it's like this whole Bresson contradiction where like you think you're getting this moment of peace, like we're finally getting music, the guy playing a piano.
Yeah.
But of course, this guy's like has a wine glass right on the edge of the piano. Yeah. Just like for no reason, and it spills to like ruin it almost.
It feels like he did it on purpose. So.
It does, because if you notice, like it's this is another one of those moments where like Bresson shows like automatic movements. It's like right when it falls, it hits the ground. Hard cut to like she's sweeping.
Yeah.
She like literally like as she's sweeping, she puts her broom down and goes to get like the supplies to clean it up, like in one motion. Like it's just like all of it's like just normal to her. Like there's no reaction of like mad about it or anything. It's just like okay, that's what she does now.
Yeah.
It's honestly insane when I noticed that time, but
no, I noticed that this time because to me that's the moment where he decides he's going to kill the family, basically.
Interesting. At that moment, like you think he's trying to show mercy almost.
I don't think he wants to kill the family at the very beginning. Whenever he gets there, I honestly don't think he does. I think after he sees how they treat her, that's whenever that's whenever he kind of, and I think it's this moment where he like kind of like switches. But
like you think he's almost showing like mercy to her a little bit, like by ending this for her, or what?
Yes, that's how I read it. I thought that him killing everyone and her was him like releasing her from her suffering almost.
And like almost like she can't see the suffering she's going through, so he has to do it.
I think she sees the suffering she's going through too, but she can't. It's the thing, like she can't do anything about it. It's the whole assisted suicide thing, you know. Like she can't do anything about it because she can't, like, you know.
It's like Michelle.
Literally, she's one of my favorite characters too because it's not that only she can't do anything, because she almost in some ways realizes it more than he does. Like, do you remember in what Chris Marker movie is it? Letter Siberia, where it's I know it's because it's in my quotes, where he says it's something like their naivety is probably better than our intelligence or something that. Yeah. I forget the exact quote, but basically like we see people as naive as being stupid or something, or innocent as being stupid. But like what I love about her character is like, even though she kind of sees the same stuff he does, like in one of the most peaceful things in the movies is where like she's like just doing the laundry, you know, we hear the water and stuff. Like that's like to me like Bresson's reason why she does it still. You know, it's like those moments where she still gets to herself to like still just hear the water and do laundry by herself. You know, it's like those moments in life that you never talk about really, that people usually keep going. Right? No, but I love what you're saying, dude, because it's like it's almost like you're saying like. Yeah, like he thinks he's showing mercy, but is he? Is he? Yeah. In a way, you could say like the world is saying like like that's actually a good thing for him to do. You know, like if you described her life on like a piece of paper, it would only be bad, basically. You know, but we would still say he shouldn't do that.
Yeah, let's describe her life on a piece of paper. Husband that hates her.
Father. It's her father. Which is amazing. No, it's not.
Damn, I did not. I thought that was.
He does this on purpose, though.
I had no idea.
I literally thought that was her husband.
Yeah, no.
Okay, because like the kid that she's taking care of is not being taken care of her by her actual children, who are the parents of it. So
no, all this relation, he's really just fucking with you. Yeah. Like honestly, this is where it's like kind of funny too, because it's like. He's trying to up the sympathy as much as possible, you know? Like, oh, is he going to kill this crippled kid and this old woman?
Yes, no, I thought
that's what he's doing, though.
I was like, is he really going to kill this crippled kid?
No, that's what makes this, like, even more horrific than a lot of horror movies, you know? Because even, like, to me, what made me realize this time, like, this is kind of a horror movie in some ways.
I was going to
say, this literally is like the shot where, remember when he's following her to the countryside? Oh, it's literally like Michael Myers or something, where he's like in the background, like following, like, and we don't know if she knows that he's following or whatever, but still,
it's the fact that we just don't have like an entryway into like what he's thinking.
No, exactly.
It's like a big part.
Well, we just saw Michael Myers, or we just saw him kill 2 other people.
Yeah,
so.
it's like all we like. Yeah,
that's all we really need.
Yes,
basically.
Yes.
Well, also, I mean, I can probably like talk about, but the fact that this woman even like she even garners sympathy for her because like. Or just because she's like, if I could forgive anyone, if I could forgive people in the world, if I was God, I would forgive everyone. Basically, she's like the most forgiving person ever. Like, and
there's no reason behind it. Right?
Yeah, it's just.
It reminds me of that quote I said from The Devil Probably, where Michelle says, "Yes, but it won't be through reason or intelligence. It'll be something else." You know. Yeah. That's kind of like what this lady represents.
She's the one that kind of like sees the threads in general, but she understands that who we're seeing at this moment, like you've been saying this entire series, is not the whole of the person. It's just a part. And that's what she's saying in that. She's like, I'm not going to judge you just because you killed these two people, because I don't know what led to that, basically.
Yes. This kind of love, like, we're seeing is, like, not rational at all, because we've just seen him kill two people, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure.
But at the same time, it's the most rational of all, because we've seen the lead up to him killing those two people.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that's what I love about this movie is, like, it's not necessarily saying, like, it's a 1-to-1, but you can see why he returned to this, you know? But yeah. To get to the movie itself, like, do you remember the opening shot of this movie during the credits? It's like this kind of... Do you know what this background is?
No.
It's the ATM that they steal. Okay. And the reason I mentioned that is, so this first shot, you see this like thin beam of light across this ATM as it's going, and then at the very end, apparently you see. I don't even notice. Raymond Watkins pointed out in his book that you see this red. You see a little blip of red, of the red keyboard behind the ATM that they put in there, and he says like that's like one of the examples of Bresson showing how he's going to use red in the movie as this like surprise kind of all of a sudden that shows up. But yeah, that's how the movie starts, is like this ATM that's going to come back later. But it really starts with like you said, this kid. It's funny. It's every person in this movie has their own justification, right? None of them want to take full blame, like saying I actually started this, right? Like this kid, he says, because his father's not giving him the same amount of money that his friends do, he has to obviously go and turn to his friend to solve the problem.
Very rich kid.
Well, he has to pay. He has to pay someone off too, because he took a loan from someone. So,
but see, I think that's what Bresson's saying. Like, yeah, it's a rich kid problem as us seen as a detached viewer.
Yeah.
But for this kid, he just sees that, but I'm poor compared to my friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I have to do something about it. I have to become rich like that.
Yeah, like
he's also
we're seeing from an objective position.
Yeah.
He needs the money to pay someone off, is what he says.
Exactly. So he's even rich. Exactly. You know, we see him as a rich kid because of his surroundings, but he sees himself as a kid who's poor, right? He's like, he actually needs money.
Yeah.
But his father won't give it to him. But yeah, so then I love how they go to the store with this counterfeit bill, and the friend is like, besides your father gave it to, because she's like, do you have any smaller bills? And he's like, besides your father gave it to you. And then the kid's like, no, he did. He's like, yes, he did.
Yeah.
Like, yes, he did.
No, this scene, the shot of like her holding up the bill is like so like ingrained in my mind.
Huh.
It's like
it's the header on Letterboxd.
Yeah. When he's like, because this is another funny thing. It's like, why would you tell her to check it? He's like, you can check it for yourself, you know.
But it's like the way she holds it up, but then she like switches it around. It's so like
she's like holding it to the light.
Yeah, it's like you can see like the background, like the windows.
I know that's a Letterboxd header. There should be a better one. I'm sorry.
I love that one. I don't know. It's so good.
I know you've already got the hand. Like we've already used that for a lot of our.
Honestly, I disagree with you. I think it's like amazing. I think it's like one of the.
It's a great shot.
It's a great shot, but it's not a top 10 to 20 shot in the movie. For sure.
It's just like kind of like perfect. It's like it's just he's money. That's what the movie's about. It's money, you know.
She's like looking for the counterfeit too. Like,
it's like perfect representation,
honestly, it even goes to the point of like saying no absolute value in the image. Like literally, like she's holding up a bill she thinks is real, but it's actually fake.
Yeah.
Like literally has no value.
Damn.
But no, but yeah, the next thing is like they leave. She gets yelled at by the boss.
Yeah.
Like, why'd you accept the counterfeit?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because it's another like example of no one wants to take blame.
Yeah.
Because she's like, but I just rejected one yesterday. Or no, the guy's like, I just rejected one yesterday. But and then she's like, yeah, but 2 days ago you took a couple. So funny.
Oh my god.
No, yeah.
I kept on waiting for this guy to get his comeuppance, but of course he's like out of the movie after this first part, basically. So
he'll come back in a way like it's kind of Bresson's point, just another cool kind of twist that happens. But I'll point out later. But right now, this is the point I was talking about. It's like so that we just get that conversation of both of them kind of talking about how they both accepted counterfeit bills and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're both guilty. Hard cut to the white van.
Well, I love it because the guy you can tell like even if we didn't have that scene of her saying like, but you accepted 2 the day before or something, you could tell that he's done this before, that they've had this happen a lot. Because he's like, oh, I'll just pass it off to the next guy, basically.
Yeah, it's so easy for them.
I love that quote. Or, like, I don't remember the exact quote, but he's like, oh, I'll just pass it on. Because that's literally how this whole movie, like, how the chain reaction starts, just passing
Maybe it's
around.
that after he says that, it's the hard cut to, this is the guy he's passing on to.
Yeah.
And he can't really see what he's going to really do to this guy's life.
No,
you know? And that's what I love about watching this, rewatching, because I know what's going to happen. But at the same time, it just, like, feels new watching it, how it happens every time. You know, it's like, just that brutal, like, now that I know how he's literally going to end up committing murder, all that, you know. Watching that glove enter for the first time, it's just like so brutal to me. It's like God, no, just like get away, like get out of the camera. You know, it's like how I talk about Sai, like kind of like being cruel to his characters. It feels like that with Bresson, you know. It's like just get out of there, like
leave.
But that's that feeling you get with a horror movie. You know, it's like you want the characters to get out of there and they can't do it. It's like it kind of feels like that.
Yeah, watching this the first time, like, since I know it's been a long time for you, Danny, and probably for you, Luke, like, watching it first time, it's just like every reveal of this guy's life is just like a gut punch. Because it's like the first time he gets home, he sees like you just see his daughter for the first time and everything like that. Like you just see everything that he's about to lose.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You're like, okay. By the way, now that you brought that up, I mentioned earlier a movie I thought of in terms of this movie is Cure.
Yes.
But I was wondering if you thought the same, like maybe one element of the movie is like kind of separate from like the money being God incarnate basically. It's like what this situation can do to an ordinary man to turn him in. This is what human beings are just capable of.
Yes.
In the right situations.
Yes.
I sort of think about that like as Cure. Like Cure's I think a lot about that. Like how we all kind of have. Despite like how good of a person we are, we still have this something in us. That can come out in the right situations.
Yes.
Obviously, Cure is like more like supernatural, but it's like more of. I feel like it's more.
But there's still a killer in that one. In this one,
no,
yeah, exactly.
Cure's supernatural is like how is he making this person do this ordinary person do this, and that's exactly how you're saying like Larjon. Like how is society making this ordinary person do this?
Yeah, it's like.
So
That's like a big element
this
of
unknown force that's driving us against our will, kind of thing.
Yeah, like.
No, damn.
I
need to watch Cure again for sure.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I need to watch it again too. I have the Criterion file.
Damn.
But he gets in trouble. He basically gets the bill. They give it to him, and he tries to pay at the restaurant, which is the hand you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where he pushes the waiter. And it just hangs on the close of his hand. It's just like another kind of like connection shot. You know, it's like this hand is this moment is gonna lead to so much more. You know,
and you just hear like all the commotion in the background. Doesn't even need to see.
Because you could think like if he didn't push the waiter there, what would the court system and the cops think of him? Like if he had just been a normal guy and not like done that and not been aggressive, basically. Yeah. Would they have taken him more seriously about his charge? No. Because he already like proved to them that he's an aggressive type that is like prone to violence and stuff like this, you know. So they're already against him after he did this. So,
and it's like almost like Bresson is showing like more kind of like compassion by showing like there are people like this too, right? That just like he didn't think about it too much like that. Exactly. It was in the moment he did it.
He's a very charming fat character in this moment.
In this moment, yeah.
Just like standing up for yourself, basically.
Yeah, no, he has that rebellious attitude, but it's like he doesn't think about the greater consequences. You know, he kind of has that kind of.
Just like everyone else in this movie, like basically. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, silly too.
And
but, yeah.
To kind of go with that is like Harun Faraki. I mentioned a couple times, experimental director. He wrote about the scene, especially this hand. I love his quote, so I'll read it. It's quote. We see his hand grabbing the waiter and pushing him away. While the sound of the waiter falling against the table is heard, Vaughn's hand pauses. It shakes from the strain. A hand, as if it had just thrown a pair of dice. Dice are an image of fate as well as killing time.
Yeah,
I love that.
No, it's
that's
exactly
how I think of that
how
moment.
Your hands whenever you.
And basically, he's just thrown his like dice, you know, in that moment right there.
Yes.
You know, now it's like kind of out of his control. Basically, the rest of this movie in some ways. No, I just love that. So, but we'll keep going in the movie. We go back to I'll call him Robin Hood. Basically, he's the Robin Hood character of this movie. The guy that basically helps put him in jail, put Vaughn in jail for the first time. The kid at the photography.
Was this the guy that you were saying earlier? Like this is the guy who's advocating for money, but like he's got this love of money, but he's advocating for it for like a good way, kind of.
Did I say that?
You said something like we have these characters that always advocate for money in Bresson movies in like a good way.
I remember saying that about. No, to me, that's the character in the prison that's saying money God.
Okay,
like that. Like that's the guy like Balthazar.
Yeah,
who's like talking to Marie. You know, who like sees God. Like money's what they believe.
Yeah,
that's their kind of motivating factor. You know, like that's a good example because the guy in this prison scene who's saying money God incarnate. Like he's literally seeing money as his way of like. His reason for living to get out of the prison, you know, and he's trying to encourage him to his Vaughn that way. But that's true for a lot of people. So, I love this. Where was I in the movie actually?
You were talking about the Robin Hood guy.
Okay, yes, yeah. We see the Robin Hood guy. I'm kind of out of order right now because there's a I forgot the scene where there's like a quick moment where the Robin Hood guy's in the dark. You guys know what a dark room is in photography? Yeah, the Robin Hood guy's in the dark room with the manager we don't hear what they say, but it's pretty obvious where he tells him to lie. And then the guy
of red.
Yes. Yeah.
Heavy red.
Yes. Yeah. This dark room. Yeah. But then he basically lies, and that's why he lies to the people, the cops when they come to check on him. But he gets arrested after that because of that guy lies. And I love there's like a quick scene where they talk to a lawyer to see what they can do about it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Lawyer's like, your boss must see your name is cleared. It's only right. And it's just like no mention of the boss ever in the movie. Like there's not even like they don't care at all what happens to him. And it's just like this is such a true thing. You know, it's like of course the lawyer would say that, but there's no help waiting for this guy. But then we do get to him at the court scene, and it's just like. Every time you think that you're going to get maybe a little resolve or something, like there is a resolve of okay, he does get granted leniency.
Yeah.
You know, but the judge says, "Be grateful for the leniency you've been shown today."
And because he's also said like, "Look what you've done to these like honest people, like great people."
Yeah. Just like even in this like good moment for him, it's like
rubs it.
It's like you're proving how bad this world is in the first place.
Oh, for sure. Because like. He says all that, and then he's like, "Oh, you're great. You get leniency because these kind people didn't decide to didn't make you pay this back." And it's like that already shows you that their guilty conscience is obviously getting to them.
Exactly.
Because like they know at the very least he's going to lose his job, and they don't care really what happens after that. But like, it's so just like it's just so gross. Like
I know,
it's so gross.
Exactly. Yeah. But you just have to watch it happen. You know, it's like. It's just like
because you understand why this guy's so fucking mad, obviously, because you are whenever you're watching this shit. And
like I put in my notes, like you in this moment you watch like a system that wrongfully convicts you, and then tells you to thank you for it after.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, and I love his reaction to it because he is kind of like he has that rebellious face to him, like he just doesn't say anything when the scene ends. And then I mentioned the dark room because we come back to Lucien. That's the Robin Hood character's name. Great name too, honestly. Mm-hmm. But the Robin Hood character asks the manager. He's like kind of worried. He's like, "What's the punishment for perjury?" And the guy just says, "Don't worry about it." And you see, and then the Robin Hood character literally just says, "I see." And every time a Bresson character says "I see," like you should kind of just like be on alert because like that's a big deal for Bresson because like he's literally in a dark room.
Yeah.
And when he says "I see," that's kind of why I've been calling him Robin Hood because that's kind of his moment of realizing like this guy just doesn't really care about him. You know,
for sure.
He's only trying to get out of it. I think in my head that's kind of where he makes this turn really of like he's kind of fuck over this guy because that's I think we show. It's maybe not the next scene, but he does end up robbing them.
Well, I love like. Because it shows like him robbing the store in air quotes whenever the boss is out the first time because he like marks up the prices on the cameras to get like
that's a good idea.
Pocket a couple extra.
I love just the process he shows of him doing this. Like no explanation, but it's just like very smooth movements of like putting this sticker that he obviously placed.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, yesterday this was a different price. Doesn't say anything, and the guy's like, all right, fine, I'll still pay. He still buy it.
Yeah.
And then when he like takes like
I'm taking notes.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and whenever he leaves the sticker in the book, it's like, does he want to be found out so he can be let go because he already made this plan basically? Like he already has the keys.
Yeah.
Like whenever he's let go and leaves that day, he meets his friends and he shows.
He does just give himself really easily.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like and I don't know.
No. Yeah, honestly, he might have got popped on purpose. It kind of seems like that.
Yeah, because he wants to fuck this guy over now. Like
especially since like this is what I probably noticed is like okay, so he does the guy gets caught, and then the Robin Hood says, "I thought dishonest people had an understanding."
Yeah,
which is so funny.
It's such a good quote.
But I think his bigger point is he basically knows this guy can't do anything worse to him.
Oh, for sure.
Because he's gonna get. He already knows what this guy's really done. You know, so it's like in a way, this is our world where like. If you're not innocent, you actually get off better than if you're totally innocent, like Vaughn is. You know, who actually gets it off worse versus this guy who's like, because he's part of the crime, he actually kind of gets off easier in this case.
Well, I mean, how do you think like the mafia survived for so long? They just got dirt on judges and shit like that. Like that's like if you have dirt on people, that's all that really matters.
Like,
in this world, so.
I mean, what's the Scorsese movie? The Departed. It's kind of about that how like basically everyone is ratting on each other like the whole time. You know. Yeah. Like everyone was like information was power. Like
the Final Shot movie, Lily's a rat running.
Yeah.
Just like basically,
Honestly, that movie has a very similar killing to the end of The Devil Probably, where we just see, is it Leo that just dies at the very end?
Or Matt Damon.
Or Matt Damon
yeah,
at the very end.
He kills, and then as soon as he's like walking out the elevator, right?
Yes.
Or walking in the elevator. I don't
Something
know.
like that, but it's just a very sudden death all of a sudden. I don't know. I just thought that. But anyway, he gets rich. They kick him out basically, and he's walking with his friends. And this is like one of the most common phrases I feel like I hear in some kind of way. Is he tells his friends, "One day I'll be good when I'm rich." It's kind of this idea of like, okay, I'll be a bad person now, or I'll just do whatever I do to make money now. But in the future, then I'll be a good person.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I feel like that's how every billionaire starts, basically.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm just gonna fuck over all these people now, and whenever I get money, I'll give it back.
I'll give it back. Something.
So,
I'll start an organization of my
yeah.
like the Bill Gates Foundation.
And then we'll get tax write-offs and pocket some money.
That's basically.
Yeah.
And we'll just hold huge galas for ourselves and
yes,
stuff.
Sir.
And
American dream.
American dream.
Exactly. No, but this is where I mentioned the scene earlier where it cuts to this kid that kind of started it all, and he like can't help himself. He has to keep going, so he goes and like sticks his tongue out at the woman he fucked over.
Yeah,
and the woman's like classic Karen move. She's like, I gotta take this too far. She's like, I gotta take it farther. So she goes to the school to like get this kid in trouble, which would be so funny. Like imagine a kid being like, damn, this lady like came all the way to the school.
Something similar happens in Brightest Summer Day, right? When
I don't know. I barely remember that movie.
Blake.
It's been a while.
At the beginning of the movie, when Chaucer it's like they point flashlights at people and stuff, and then the person whoever just did that to went to a school, and then they're sitting. It has the shot of them sitting there, and they gets called.
I mean, it's I don't remember it exactly,
okay.
but I can easily believe that being in a
okay, yeah. So. Sorry, it immediately thought of that.
But to keep going to the movies, the kid does have to come back home, and the mother instead of saying he did something wrong, she tells him deny everything, stand your ground. Basically, being like. Continue lying basically, and she goes to solve the problem for him, which is, do you guys remember how?
Oh,
she
just
paying
him
exactly,
yeah.
Like proving Bresson's point that money is God.
Yeah.
Because I know you mentioned how this manager guy, you kind of wish to see him get his comeuppance more often, but to me this is important both for this kid and for the manager. They both kind of resolve their tension the same way with money.
Yeah.
It solves this kid's problem, just pay him off. And then also solves this manager's problem where he felt like he got robbed by the guy, but then when he sees the Robin Hood check he gets back in return, he has this tear in his eye, and his problem is solved too, and that's the power of money in this world. But to keep going, we come back to Vaughn, who there's that scene of him getting the plan from the guy where he sits at the cafe a while and the guy talks to him.
Bresson setting up a heist movie,
Yes. I mean, that basically leads us to the heist.
The most Bresson heist.
Did you see this coming as a heist? Because I've seen this movie so many times, but did you see what was going on in terms of he's going to get the plan for a heist? Because he said there's barely no words.
There's he puts on the map, but I love how he does the map because it's two very small.
There's it's how are you supposed to know what? Yeah,
he's just he's gonna help find this later.
Whenever I saw the map, I knew it was probably going to be either a getaway driver or he's just going to pick someone up or something like that, and that's what he's doing. But I didn't know that it was going to be they were robbing a bank and taking all these hostages and shit. I was like, oh my god!
I don't think he knew that either.
I don't think he knew that either. Yeah, he's as surprised as we are.
Which is another point of the movie, right? It's we don't know what we're getting into.
Yeah.
This whole scene's the most Bresson way to ever shoot.
Oh, it's amazing, dude. It's so silent, and then we get that one gunshot of where chaos happens. He's trying to decide if he should leave or not. He's holding the wheel. He turns the gas on, still standing there for a while. Then he finally starts to drive off.
Cops, because the cops
when they come back. Oh yes.
And then they look at him and they come back, and then he goes.
There's that moment where if he would just waited a little bit longer, the cops might have just kept going.
Yeah.
There's the little moments in the movie. If you just made a little decision, something else, maybe he would have been fine.
But
he decides to go a little too early. Maybe the same way as with the hand. He's kind of an emotional person.
Yeah, it's an impulse.
It's an impulse. Exactly. But it's just one of the most efficient car crashes too. It's
just one of the most because he focuses on the pedal more than the
pedal. He shoots the pedal. rearview mirror, side mirror, pedal, rearview side mirror, then wide shot of the car crashing, and there's like 2 shots of it crashing, and that's it.
Yeah, it's like,
and then this is one of my best examples of like I've mentioned this on like some of the other episodes where like there are examples of movies like where you could see it as a miracle just based on perspective.
Yeah.
And the reason I mention that is like, so we get this crash, all of a sudden he crashes, and then it cuts to her in the police station, and she says he would be in the hospital if he was hurt.
Yeah.
Basically seen as like what had just happened as a positive.
Damn.
You know, like, you know what she's saying because like at least he's not hurt. You know.
Yeah.
No, and I just love that moment too because like it's like these hard cuts all of a sudden. You know, like you think something bad that happened, and then he undercuts it with a hard cut, and vice versa.
Yes.
It's one of those examples. And then it does hang for a long time where the cop tells her she can't talk to him before his trial.
Yes.
And it just hangs for a long time on she just sits there like kind of thinking. It's a brutal shot, you know, like I think I mentioned this with Stalker. Like at the beginning of the Stalker with the wife, he kind of abandons and how Tarkovsky's camera kind of focuses on her a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like kind of this too, like he's focusing on like this is just another like fall off of this what this kid did at the beginning in some ways, you know, like what's going to happen in her life too, not just his.
It's just affecting more people than you would think. Like,
Exactly. But yeah, so the next scene is then him getting sentenced. And this is the best example of red in the movie for me. Okay. And this example I'm talking about.
Oh, is it the rose? Or the rose red? Yeah.
They're like a bright red. And James Kwan in like the A to Z video, he says that even the judge kind of looks like Bresson too.
I didn't even
realize. Does. He probably sees it more than I do, but he kind of does a little bit, like a younger Bresson.
Okay.
Almost kind of emphasizing this point of like Bresson judging his characters kind of thing, as the director does. And then Raymond Watkins mentions a different critic who pointed out that another reason why the red hits so hard in the movie is like right when the robes of red enter the scene behind the white background that we get, you hear someone in the court yell "La Cour" really loud, which means the court. And so it's like he says it's almost emphasizing like the red and the court scream at the same time just gives it like that visceral reaction of red.
And honestly,
like,
I thought it was. I think the first time I watched this, I thought it was like a Catholic church because like I thought they were cardinals at first. And I don't know if that's like
no. There's definitely that thing is he's kind of comparing all like authority figures in the same kind of way. Like the same way I mentioned the police.
Yeah, he's like blending the line in a way.
These characters that judge.
Yeah.
You know. Before anything else, like because if you think about it, a judgment requires you saying you have knowledge about a person, you know. But like Bresson's whole thing is we truly can't know a person.
Yeah, everyone's mysterious.
Yeah. But then we go to he gets arrested. They tell him he has to go to jail. Do you remember how long this shot is of him getting in this van and it parks? The prison bus parks. You know?
Oh, because there's one thing I love about this scene is how they literally make them pick up their own luggage while in the handcuffs. It's like,
but dude, it's also perfectly rhythmic. It's like like satisfying to watch sound wise and stuff.
Like, but just like there's something about that I find so like sticks in my mind. Like
no, and it's funny. I think he does it because he comes back to this later.
Yeah, okay,
when the other kid also gets arrested. It's the same exact shot, the same way they all get off, the same way. I think that's why he spent so much time on it. Kind of just being like, just another example. Now another guy's here. This happens all the time.
It's like the initiation into the prison, like
and like almost like he could have followed a different guy that also gets on this bus. Or that gets off this bus. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah. But then it cuts to. Funny I mentioned that because it cuts to Vaughn getting arrested, and then it cuts to the guy stealing the safe. Just the safe empty, which I love. Damn. And this is one of the most insane kind of Bresson moments of him just filming empty spaces. Is this scene of like he shows the empty safe, then he follows these kids as they're like going to the train station and stuff.
Yeah.
But he hangs so long on these doorways, the hallways of like the stairs to the train station. He hangs a long time on like the train after it leaves of just like the empty tunnel. Like it's honestly like he's just going crazy with all these like empty
loves
spaces.
doors. Honestly.
Yes. I remember that quote I read.
Yeah. I forgot what you said, but I remember what you said. I remember. Yeah.
I'll have to find it.
It was a pro door quote.
It's a very pro door quote. And this is most door movie too. So
most
it makes sense. Movie. It makes sense.
What's the most door movie you think? Just in general.
This one.
It's
one of them.
One of them. Okay.
A great door movie is Kiarostami's the one with the kid, the first one.
Oh, Where's Friend's House?
Where's Friend's House? That guy, remember the guy where he literally makes doors?
Yeah.
They're like walking through all the doors he's made. It's like one of my
Probably
favorite.
that Kurosawa movie I've seen.
Wait, Helo's Holiday. Helo's Holiday is a fantastic door movie.
So is Playtime, honestly.
Literally, the noises on the doors are just
Okay.
amazing.
That's another Bresson thing too. Is noises of the doors,
Yeah.
not just the doors. You know, like.
Is it this movie or was it The Devil Probably that just had the shot of like the key being stuck in the hotel door?
Wait, yeah, Playtime is also holy shit.
Yeah, Playtime.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. Oh.
I mean, Playtime has one of the best door scenes
Yes.
where there's no sound of the door. I would
Yeah.
talk about
And
that.
the one at the
multiple
club
times.
when they're like
And the club,
yeah, and the
where they show
club.
everything.
There's other ones too. There has to be. Oh, the Eiffel Tower shot
Eiffel Tower
with the
shot.
door. There's all the other shots.
The
too.
elevator
Landmarks.
doors?
The sound. I was literally just about to say the sound of the elevator doors is
Yes.
so pleasing in the movie too.
Oh, Tati might be the door
No,
director.
no.
He might be. He
Is
might.
there an edit for Playtime doors and Playtime? I don't think.
I'll
so.
make one. I need
Do
to
it,
honestly.
do it,
Just
do
like
it.
doors and Tati. Honestly,
You probably could.
Damn, I might need to make that.
No,
Coming
but
soon.
is
Like,
there?
coming
This is
soon.
what-
I'll float
I need
the
to
film.
start like keeping ideas in my head for directors, and then the next time I watch them, like kind of keep them in mind.
Yeah. Honestly, I might cook that one up for the
The
channel.
door might be good.
For the Tati door one. Because it's not just because I mean Mon Uncle, the garage door, it's in Mon Uncle.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, another door.
Oh fuck, just the gate in Mon Uncle 2.
Trafic, the car doors.
Yes.
I mean, holy shit.
No, Tate's a huge door guy. You're right.
Yeah, I can't lie.
That's just the monster who lives all.
Oh,
Damn, I
Yes.
love it. I know
Oh
exactly.
well, also the door being propped open by the wind in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. Tati, I think Tati's the goat door
It's
director.
crazy. Tati has so many little moments that stick out in your head.
Oh,
You know.
there's so many.
Damn.
Holy shit. I think,
Okay.
yeah.
No, but
Back
was
to the
there
song.
that
We
shot?
got-
Was that shot in this movie or was that in the last one?
I don't
Of
know
what?
what you're
Of what?
talking about.
Of the key just sticking out of the like hotel door, because that made me think of Viva the More, obviously. But because I remember
Gentle Woman.
You know, yeah, because I remember you
We talked
mentioning
about that.
that.
Remember,
You
Gentle
mentioned
Woman
that.
starts like that with a key in a door, and I
Yeah.
mentioned that was a Viva.
Yeah, I remember we
no,
brought that up.
yeah. There was another scene. There was
Maybe
another,
that's
I think
why
there
this
was
one
another
did that
one.
for
This
you.
one where I was like, oh, that looks
You might-
basically the exact same. So
You might be right.
it wasn't a close up though. So but
no, but to go to another kind of door scene is maybe is when he talks to his wife for kind of the last time he sees her anyway. This honestly maybe there's a lot of brutal scenes in this movie, but this one's really brutal. Where like all she says is, "Remember, Vaughn, we parted without ever having been fought." And then he says, "When I get out, I'll work hard as I can. 3 of us will start over." And then she just starts walking off, and he goes, "Where are you going? Come back." And
Damn.
it's just this shot of it hangs so long of
Is it-
her just walking out of the prison as he watches.
Is that the last time we see her too? or-
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Nice.
the rest of her communication with him is through letter.
Oh my god.
And the reason I point that out is because that's another reason why I wanted to use this kind of poster from the beginning. That poster
Yeah.
is because those uniforms like almost represent to me like the way it's like they become the viewer in some ways. Like
Yeah.
the way I'll point it out later, but like every time they read a letter, it's like so objective, but it makes
Yeah.
it so much brutal more for it, you know, because like they're reading what he's about to read, but they're reading from such like a detached perspective.
Yeah.
It makes you think of it detached that way. You know, it's like, oh, they're just reading another letter, and it says like the scene, like the letter that she writes the first time is something like I have it here. Oh yeah, it says the daughters died, and that's why she couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
But it's like we just watch it like I put in my notes. It's like a Versov like scene of watching the letter travel from the beginning of the mail as the mail truck arrives to how it arrives to Vaughn. It's like
Yeah.
almost like the same way like Vertov showed like the bread going from the beginning of the bakery to like the shelf.
yeah.
But it's like Bresson's version of showing this letter, but it's like a brutal way of showing it. You know,
Yeah.
like it goes through like all this ways, and it goes to this mail clerk reading it just from a detached perspective about and then we finally see Vaughn read it after we already know what it says.
Yeah.
Well, we don't even see him read it. I think it just cuts to him like face down with the pillow.
Yeah, because it's by his
Oh,
side.
it's
and
by
that's-
its side
yeah,
already.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's why
That's
the guy
actually
and
really
the guys
interesting.
peek at it basically.
And they say one of my favorite
Yeah.
lines, which is kind of a very Buddhist idea again, where he says, "We fear death because we love life."
Yeah.
And that's all he says, and they just both
And then they
toast
tear-
this-
they
yes,
toast
they
or-
t-
yeah.
it's just so many things emotions.
It's a
Yeah,
very
too much.
beautiful
Yeah,
moment. I
it
really
is,
like
it
that
is.
moment with the two prisoners, dude.
Yes.
Like,
No, exactly. We fear death because we love life. No.
and then they just toast. So
And then
good.
they hide the alcohol back under the
Yeah.
bed too. That little moment. And then it cuts back to we followed the Robin Hood character again, where it's actually the manager now. This is the letter he receives. Of course, this guy receives the good letter. It's like I just realized in my head, like Bresson's even comparing those two. It's like Vaughn receives like a letter of terrible news, and this guy who doesn't deserve it receives like this letter of getting more money he doesn't deserve. Where he says, "You played a nasty trick on me. I played an even nastier one on Vaughn, but I forgive you. Accept this check from your former assistant." And just like this. More reasons this world's kind of fucked up, but also like he's showing an act of kindness, he's like forgiving him in a way. So it's there's nothing clear in this movie really. It's so funny because the manager reads it and he has this tear down his eye. It's like I remember you mentioned like when we see Bresson's crying, like we always see the tear down.
Yeah, it's like
in this one, it's like he's kind of making fun of that in a way. It's like, of course, this guy's like, it's like this is his emotional moment. He just received.
This also connects to what the assistant guy said earlier about when he's rich, he'll be good.
Yeah, no, he actually that's why I'm calling him Robin Hood, because he actually kind of he tries to hold to that. And
but even then, is that redeem him? No.
Yeah.
Question is yes.
And then, do you guys remember Orsini?
Orsini
yes, in Man Escaped.
Yeah.
Do you remember like that? My favorite line where they say like basically Orsini, like he was a man who's like wife cheated on him, but now after like basically being in prison, he's kind of redeemed himself and stuff.
Or he's forgotten
over time or something like that. It's basically very similar to how they start talking about him in this scene, because they keep talking. We see a few shots of like the letters being returned, all of his letters being returned. That's not a good sign, obviously. And then they keep making fun of him, like, your letters are being returned. He's ignoring them, and then he says, one of them says, another woman who can't live without a man, and then it says, some other guy says, yeah, without hanky panky or something like that. But it's like the same kind of idea. Like, in Orsini is like a character who actually makes it through, over time, and this movie is like the opposite. Like a guy that has had that beaten down to him, but like he goes the other way. He does snap.
Yes.
Like it's like. It's like another one of those no hope kind of situations that's fun to compare with The Man Escaped, where we do see more of that hope in the movie. And then because that's when he freaks out on one of the guys, he picks up the it's like a
strainer.
A strainer, he picks up a strainer, exactly. Yeah, picks up a strainer, and this is I think what you were saying earlier in terms of like maybe if he hadn't pushed the guy earlier, they wouldn't have actually thought he was going to hit him here, but because he did that,
like they might not have thought he was trying to kill a guard, which obviously he wasn't. Well,
is it obvious?
I think it's obvious
because we also have said though that he's an impulsive guy.
I don't think he was going for the guard. I think he was going for one of the prisoners.
No, I think either way, all they say is he was going to commit murder.
Yeah,
and then because he does get arrested, and as they're arresting him, one of the cops says, "In here, a man who's never killed is more dangerous than can be more dangerous than a serial killer."
Yeah.
And I kind of love that because it's like, to me, how I read that is like, he almost sees it like he might as well commit a punishment to fit the crime he's already been convicted of. Like he might as well do something because like he's already in this world anyway. But no, he gets 40 days of solitary confinement, and it's like Bresson. This is like the one movie Bresson literally gives you no mercy, because it's like in my notes it's like he gets condemned, 40 days solitary confinement. Then it's the third time we get a letter. This time the letter says, Vaughn, we won't meet again. I've decided to start a new life.
Damn.
Just all back to back, like no mercy.
And this one they decide to hold though. Like they don't send this to him. Is that just because he's in
they
solitary
do hold the
confinement?
Maybe it's
or
because
is that
he's
like
in solitary.
I don't know. I didn't know if that was because he was in solitary confinement or because they were like, oh, he can't take this right now.
Probably that's why. Yeah.
Like both maybe.
Because we do know he gets this letter later on.
Yeah, he does get it later.
But this is why I also like in my notes I put like, that moment is kind of like makes this movie in some ways the opposite of Pickpocket, because like let's say she decides to stay with him.
Oh, yeah,
you could say that's Pickpocket's ending, but because she decides not to stay with him, like this movie keeps going on in like just a more depressing way. Versus Pickpocket has that hopeful ending. Like he has her, to keep going for. I think I might make this the intro of the podcast. But it's a noise I'll never forget is when he's just like scraping the cup on the ground as he's in solitary. Just like super rhythmic. We get like a shot that's super similar to the shot in Man Escaped, where it's just the peephole and like close up. It's just the door and the peephole like looking back at him.
Yeah.
I actually needed to compare the shots because I'm pretty sure they're almost exactly the same. But then it's we find out that he's been hiding all these pills. To basically like kill himself.
Yeah.
And he takes the pills, and we hear the ambulance, And then we hear those two guys in the cell, and one of them's praying. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Don't mind me. I always pray for the ones who killed themselves."
Yeah.
And this is like another one of those moments where a hard cut kind of like reveals a positive and a negative. It's like we think he's killed himself. Yeah. Hard cut to the hospital beeping sounds that like reveal that he's still alive.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like a depressing moment, but it's still
and then even
a hopeful moment.
And then like right afterwards, it's like he gets out, but immediately the guy that like basically put him in this mess gets to the prison.
Yes.
Like, immediately.
Yes.
Like,
and do you remember because we also get a judgment scene with him. But it's almost he gets a lighter judgment too, because like if you notice, his judges aren't wearing red.
Yeah.
And he's sitting for some reason on the opposite side of the court.
Yeah.
Like he's not even sitting on the same side that Vaughn is, so it's like almost like Bresson's kind of saying like different people are judged differently.
Well, he has money. So.
He has money, class, basically, yeah. But he is funny though because he does say he's getting judged and he says he was like why do you they ask him something, I forget what they ask him, and he says he hopes to be acquitted or if not then to escape.
Yeah.
No, they say be honest, like what do you plan to do or something. He says I hope to be acquitted or if not then to escape, and then the judge says your words may turn the judges against you.
A man escape too?
No, but
we get his escape.
No, but actually,
so.
I think that's what this guy is, though. He's supposed to be the man escape guy. The guy's always looking for a way out. You know, like he's because he even says in the next scene when we do when they do meet in the prison, like at the church sermon, he says, "I'm serious. I know a way. I have a plan." Yeah. That's like literally something Fontaine says in the Man Escape, basically. Like when he tells to the young guy, he says like something like, "I have a plan. I know a way out." So it's almost like there's these other movies of Bresson's in this movie, you know, in the background and stuff, like you could see with different characters and stuff.
Also, it's fascinating that like we're talking about so much, and it's like this movie's still like 80 minutes.
Yeah,
exactly. It's literally okay. I don't know if you know, literally no shot is wasted in this movie. It's like literally just
every shot tells.
It's like
something.
So perfect.
That's what I'm saying,
it's like this. It's like this movie's like so perfect. It's like it pisses me off sometimes. Like
I will say like it's not always. It's almost like when I just binge watch Bresson, it's like I start noticing a lot more where I'm like a normal movie will show like okay, a character's being attacked by a lion or something. Bresson will show that shot in one shot and then move on. And then a normal movie has to take like 10 shots to show it. It's going to show from like 7 different angles. There'll be
like the whole high section would be like a whole like hour. For
and then I'm like, when I'm in Bresson mindset, I'm like, just show it in one shot, and move on. You know, we got it. The guy attacked the lion. The lion attacked the guy. Let's keep it pushing. You know. No, that's No, I love how you said that because like, this movie flows so by, but there's so much to talk about. It's amazing. But then he's back in the cell.
I do love that judgment scene, honestly. Are we? Did we?
No, we've already skipped with the kid.
Yeah,
right?
because I love how like well, first he's judging him at church, obviously. Like Bresson loves to do shit like this with people judging, but he's literally like saying like I've got a way to escape, like you were saying, like it's foolproof or whatever. And he's like, I would rather kill you than escape with you. He's like, I'm showing you a way out. Why don't you just like I don't have a guilty conscience or anything. He's like, I'm your guilty conscience.
Oh my god!
He's like, so good. That line is, you have me on your conscience.
Yeah, you have me on.
And now you'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, it's so good.
Cool.
Damn. Now that I'm thinking about it, you could see him as those murders. He's trying to put this on his conscience.
For sure.
All these murders that he commits in the rest of the movie. As literally being like, now you're going to pay for it. Like, literally. You know, like... Because Lucien is the one guy who kind of sees, like, this might be my fault.
Oh, yeah.
He even writes in that letter as, like, I even played a greater trick on Vaughn.
Yeah.
Damn. So, like, you could even say all these murders being, like, he's just trying to play, like, a guiltier weight on someone else, you know?
Because he's just so far. Like,
it's like resentment It's like his one kind of... It's like his one thing he can do to fight back. Yeah. At least he feels.
The thing, basically.
No, and then we get to he's back. He's already rejected the guy. He's back in the prison with his other friend who's like saying the money is God and everything. I love his long speech about like how this is like the most passion we see in the movie.
Yeah,
this guy just like giving all of his like basically his reason for living is because of money, you know, and he's making some good points. You know, like, as we've seen, money has solved the problems for a lot of characters in this movie.
Yeah,
you know, it's ended relations. It's ended a processes where for Vaughn it's had to keep going because he didn't have money to stop it. You know, and that's kind of what poverty is in a lot of cases. It's like that's literally what it is. It's like you can't pay for medical bills or whatever. You know, that other people can. But yeah, so at the end of the scene, like where the friends are talking, we get this like shot of. I think I mentioned this before as like one of my favorite quotes in a movie. I think we did that.
Oh yeah, because it was. I remember what you're talking about because it was in the quick fire thing, and I said, "What's a moment in a movie that like, you can't stop thinking about?" And you said this one.
Okay, yes, because I think I just rewatched Large on that point. it's where he's like just smashing the door for the fist for like no reason, and the friend is like, you won't smash the door, only your fist. I wouldn't let it humiliate me like that. I just love that because it's like, that's what I've been saying is like when Bresson teaches us how to see, it's almost like he's saying like, don't commit yourself to things that have no point. You know, don't fight back for things that aren't gonna give you. There's no point to fighting back. You know, like in this case, just like there's no point in hitting this door because the door's gonna win. It's only gonna hurt your hand at the end of the day. That's kind of like what he sees a lot about this world is like, don't commit yourself to things that are just gonna trap you at the end of the day, or you know. And there's just like this one little moment kind of shows so much for me like that.
This really is like another like a prisoner story, like a different prisoner story from The Escape though, because like I'm pretty sure the guy that he's talking to is even saying like, well, we all knew which night he was gonna do it. We all heard the scraping and shit like that. So it's like you're literally like hearing like his escape plan and everything, like what he was doing to escape. That's the exact same thing as a man escape, basically.
I didn't forget that where he does get caught. Yeah. Like because he's saying like someone's already taken revenge for you. Don't worry about it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, damn, I forgot. Yeah, he does get caught. Like, it is like the opposite man escape.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you said that. But now we get basically to the last kind of bits of the movie. He gets released. He goes to commit his first kills. Do you remember what the hotel was called?
No.
It's just right there. I can see the sign. I can see the picture. I can see the sign in my head.
It's
and
very
it's Hotel something.
It's Hotel Modern. Modern.
Oh,
basically.
My.
Basically, you know, Bresson, you know, going to...
I do love how they just release him, though, because, like, they release him and don't give him, like, anything. Like, anywhere to go. Like, it's just like, oh, you're on your own. There you go.
Exactly.
Get on out there, guy. Do what you want to do.
All he has is that letter, basically. No, it's even, like, all he's holding is that letter. Yeah. That's basically showing, like, everything he's in the real world has also been taken from him, you know? Like, that's what he's coming back to. But do you, like, the way he commits this murder is almost kind of like, you don't see it happening initially.
No, it's...
Because he cuts to the Hotel Modern, and it shows him going up the steps and stuff. And then it shows him robbing it, and we might see some bodies on the ground. I don't remember.
It's very like
I don't think we see any bodies.
Maybe not in this one, because where I recognize this, we see his hand. This is another case of white and then red.
His hands.
We see the
red.
sink. That's white. He turns the water on, and then the red comes in as he's washing the blood off his hands.
Yeah.
It's just another one of the examples of that red kind of just like all of a sudden like screaming in your face about what he just did. Yeah, so that's the first set he kills. He kills those people at the Hotel Modern, and then he goes. It's honestly now I'm saying it's even more important that it's called Modern because this is like him killing modernity, and now he's going to the countryside because he follows his. Now he's like it's like okay maybe this is an option for him. He can go to the countryside now. It's like nope, not that too.
Yeah, modern life has like kind of turned his back on him now. It's his only choice,
And so then he goes to the country, follows
we've already talked about that.
Do you think like the two people he killed at the hotel was his wife and her lover, or whatever that she lived with? Maybe.
I can see that. I've never thought of that, but
I don't know. It's just like whenever she asks, like later on in these scenes, like whenever he comes and eats or whatever, she asks like, "Why did you do it?" And he said, "For pleasure." And it's like, I don't know. Why would he just kill two random people for pleasure? Unless, like, he's already that far gone. Which, he never really gives me that thing of, like, him being so far gone that he just murdered two fucking people for no reason. But maybe.
To me, he does.
Okay.
To me, he does. Okay. To me, he's already reached that point of, like, he's broken.
He doesn't care at all. Yeah.
Maybe for the most part. There are little moments, like, in this scene, like, where this woman is... You think maybe he's going to bring him back, you know? Like, maybe he still has this kind of love in him to, like, kind of believe in life anyway. But to me, he's like basically giving up, like outside of this prison. That's why I think it's just kind of random.
Yeah.
But you might be right because you may never see the faces or anything. I don't think. So.
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we ever see that.
Because in that scene where he's saying where the lady asks him like why he does it, and he says it gave me pleasure. I didn't take much. I already spent it all. I remember every detail. He fell splayed out by the door. She tried to grab the knife. Their appearance made me sick. And him describing that almost describes. It sounds like how Bresson would describe like a script for his movie or something, you know, like how he describes that murder scene or something, you know. That's kind of weird. But then that's also where she says you didn't go back to revive them, and he says I'm not a doctor, and then she says you'll be forgiven. If I were God, if it were up to me, I'd forgive everyone. Like no explanation, but you can basically tell like by the way she lives her life and like her surroundings, like she actually believes that, you know. But then. It's never explained. I love how you said you thought they were husband and wife because I thought so too. But it does say that she's her father.
I completely missed that.
Yeah. I'm almost positive because that's what James Caan says too. But I think he is fucking with the ages and stuff.
Yeah,
the faces
because they both look.
It's
the
a
same
side
age
thing.
almost.
It's a side thing I was saying.
Oh yeah,
like
for
where
sure.
side like would fuck with like what relationships and
for
stuff.
sure.
Just to make you think about it. But we get that
Like,
famous shot
roommates?
with the teacup, like you were saying, the white where she's like holding it.
Well, yeah, and just like the fact that like the way he shows the kind of cruelty.
Well,
of
do
the
you remember
violence,
right before he shows the teapot? Is like to me, it's like this is like a way of Bresson that shows he actually does show love every now and then. Like you know how people show like Cassavetes loves his characters because he shows like a bunch of close-ups of the actors' faces and stuff.
Yeah.
Like to some degree, like he does do a lot of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily to show love.
It's for his characters, like he kind of
maybe
shows empathy for them,
love.
maybe.
Possibly.
But at least for Bresson, in this case, he shows like a side profile shot of her.
Okay.
Like and it stands out because he never does that.
Yeah,
and he does one in Devil probably similar when he smokes a cigarette where he gets a close up. It's very similar. It's like that's like Bresson's way of showing kind of love. You know, at least outside the movie. You know, he still shows some kind of love for his characters.
But yeah, but like okay, but I just like I love this shot because it's like it's so affecting because. It's like the perfect amount to show like how cruel this is. Like the fact that the tea is like just all it does is fall in her hand basically.
Well, yeah,
like,
we never see the slap.
Never see the slap.
Only the effect of it, right?
Oh, it's just like and the effect is like it's like I guess like objectively like yeah that's small. Just in that it's just like it's just the right amount to be cruel. I don't know. It's
no exactly.
I'm obsessed with it.
And it's a similar kind of fall also with the teacup, and then also a little later is the wine glass.
Yeah.
Also falls. And do you remember? There's two other movies in my head that I can remember. There might be more where we also see wine glasses falling. At the end of the movies too, to kind of signify like basically something bad's about to happen.
Isn't a gentlewoman though?
It happens in Diary of the Country Priest. Diary of the Country Priest at the end where he like drops the wine glass.
Oh, in Alcer in the bar when he drops the glass. Oh, you're not thinking of that.
No. These two, the one I'm thinking of Mouchette at the end where she drops the glass.
Oh,
before her death.
The coffee. Yeah.
And then Diary of the Country Priest, same thing when he's like talking to the priest of Torcy and he drops one. Those are two I remember because it shows you close ups of like the glass on the ground too. But you might be right, Gentlewoman has one.
A Gentlewoman, I think I'm just thinking of the table falling over or the chair falling over that she jumps off of. That shot, but I don't know if there was a wine on there or not. But I just remember that table and chair distinctly.
No, that same shot. That's why I remember them. Like he stays on the effect. Yeah. Right. Like he never shows the slap ever, or like we're about to get to in a little bit. He never shows the murder. He never shows the actual axe hitting any person. But you know, it's like that object. The effect of the object after is all you need, right?
Oh man, it's honestly, it's like oh man, like when he pans, like he's like panning the camera to show the bodies like on the floor. It's just like. It's terrifying, like especially with like how dark it is too.
Well, it also makes it even like more terrifying or tense because the dog is so tense. Like, the dog is like so nervous.
It's like the dog is helpless.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
the dog's helpless.
He's the one carrying the sound of this scene.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
so we get like the basically this. He's going around basically committing a murder spree, but like only in a Bresson way, where just like certain shots of certain moments. You know.
Well, because like. It's this thing in Bresson movies that we've talked about before where he loves animals because they can't hide their emotions.
Exactly.
And the dog trusts him.
Yes, exactly.
And so it's like whenever the dog sees him doing all this, it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, I trusted you. You're a nice guy. Like, I don't know why you're doing all this, basically.
Exactly.
Because even the dog's just standing there whenever he's about to kill the old lady. It's just standing there kind of like barking at him.
And I noticed that's where it starts to change, too.
Yeah.
Where its voice starts to change where when the dog realizes it's about to kill the woman. Too.
Yeah.
No, the dog is that's why I said the dog is really important in this movie too, because it's like it's doing some of the most realistic action in this, like of the emotion, of carrying the emotion, you know, because no other character in this movie shows emotion like that with their voice or anything. So it's only the dog. And that's really why it stands out. It's like it's just that noise of helplessness that the dog has, you know. It's like it can't do anything to stop it. No, and that's why it's like there's that brief moment you think he might stop. I don't know. You're watching. Do you think he's gonna kill that woman in the last moment?
I honestly still don't know if she's actually completely dead, but
and dude,
like he's holding. Obviously she's probably dead because he does swing it, but like we never see it.
It goes to what you were saying earlier about showing her mercy.
Yeah, well, we never see it, but he also like whenever he's like holding the axe like this, he's not holding it head out. He's holding it with the with like the blunt edge first. Yeah. So it's like yes, whenever you swing an axe, you could obviously twist that around and then like kill her. But I don't know, like that blood spray could just be the blood that was already on the axe too.
Yeah, like it's. I think it's a classic Bresson, like leaving up.
Yeah, like I think he probably killed her.
Because I did notice like it is weird how
it's weird
he
how
does have it's like the blunt side is because I noticed that. Yeah,
it's the blunt side and then the blood that's on the wall it just seems like it's the blood from the axe whenever, like, because the axe is already bloody, obviously.
Yeah. I guess it's
I don't know.
I
think it's open-ended. I think it's open-ended for sure because he didn't kill that crippled kid. The crippled kid's not dead. I don't think. I think he only killed the husband and the 2 other ones.
I think he kills the crippled kid.
Does he?
I don't know, honestly.
I honestly can't remember if he killed the crippled kid or not, because I think the crippled kid was crying in his room whenever all this
I wonder if this depends on like how much sympathy you have for him.
Yeah.
Because honestly, he does test the limits of like sympathy.
That's what I was saying. I was like, Bresson's really pushing almost funnily. Like, how many sympathetic characters can he kill? Almost?
And just like for him too. Like, how much sympathy do you have for him?
Exactly.
Like, while he's like committed. All this
can you still believe in redemption for this guy?
Yes. Like, so I guess like it just depends on like. Okay, do you think he killed the kid or not? It depends on how much you like still believe he is like a good human or just like at heart.
And we did skip over like maybe one of my favorite moments in the movie is where the lady before she dies is the scene before, but the most peaceful scene in the movie.
The one that we've talked about.
Yes, we talked about with the quotes on it. But what the actual quote is where he says, you do all the work alone, no one helps you. Why don't you just throw yourself in the river? Do you expect a miracle? And she says, I expect nothing.
Oh, and that's a connection to Musha too, right? Yeah.
Yes.
It's also a connection with the double probably. That's a connection with the double probably too, though, because the whole point of Charles in that one is like he just wants to do nothing. So
but to me, this is like Bresson's whole idea of like believing in chance anyway, or the new right is like a miracle is not something you expect. Right. That's the whole point of a miracle. You know.
Yeah, and I can see like him like if he does kill the woman, it's like the same effect as like Mushet. So it's like for him it's like a release.
That for him it is. Yeah.
That's for him. That's what Blake was saying for sure.
What's the video you're too much of a coward to post about this scene? Like you were voiceovering this scene?
I posted it on my channel.
Did you? On yours, not on
ours. No, it's just a quote I have on my letterbox of Monty Call's review. Or not his review.
Okay.
His first time watching Pickpocket. No, but really the quote's about what Bresson makes you feel as you're watching the movies.
Yeah. No, because I like that video. You should post it on our actual channel.
Okay, well, maybe. But it's also like the way he swings the axe and he says, "Where's the money?" Yeah, and it's just like such a perfect moment of like this whole movie. You know, it's like the movie's called Money, but it's like even the way he says is like, "Where's the money?" You know, we've just watched this innocent go from like he seemed like such a nice innocent guy to like holding an axe and asking, "Where's the money?" You know?
Yeah, it's like
like
he's trying to Jack Torrance basically.
Like basically, that's what I was
thinking. No, to me, I was thinking more of Full Metal Jacket.
Sure, yeah.
Of like watching what the system does to people, like at the beginning versus the end, you know, and what it's trying to do to people.
Is the hotel not the system? Not joking. I don't know. Probably someone doesn't.
Oh, it's The Shining. Okay, I see what you're saying. But there's also a great shot when he throws the axe in the water.
Oh, it's like so sudden.
It's sudden when you see the water all of a sudden hit the water, axe hit the water. But then it hangs on him almost like thinking for a moment. Like, to me, this is the moment where he decides to go to the cafe and kind of give himself up.
And just like the way the axe falls into the water is so cool. It's just like there's no like it doesn't spin at all. It just like drops.
Yep. Yeah. No. And then he goes to this last kind of almost like most abstract ending for Bresson, honestly. Like goes to a cafe, just sits down, and then he gets up like. This is another where he says, Watkins points out where we don't see a lot of the cops straight on, but we see cops in the mirror. Yeah. We hear them all around everywhere. This is another example of that. Yeah. And he just goes and contests.
It feels like it might be a cop bar or something.
Yeah, something. Yeah, they're like celebrating something.
Yeah.
But then they go and he basically gives himself up and he says, I just killed those people in the hotel and also his family or something. Yeah. And as they walk out, the cops arrest him. We see this crowd, and it's like watching the people leave, but then the crowd just hangs on the empty doorway. Watching, like, I don't know, what do you guys think that means? It's very open, but I don't know if you guys remember this last shot I'm talking about.
Whenever they're at the house?
No, at the very end, this cafe. The police have already taken him out. The movie's basically ended. And we see all these people at the cafe watching outside, and they're still looking through the door that's empty.
Yeah.
And that's how the movie ends.
No, I thought they went back to the house, and then it's him walking out of the house. Or is that the cafe that they're at?
That's the cafe.
No, that's the cafe.
Damn, okay.
That's the cafe. It's all self-documented where the cops have taken him out of the cafe, and it's literally the last.
No, yeah, because the reason I thought that was the house is because it's so green.
So
I thought
they're waiting on. I guess they're waiting on something.
To me, this is like I forgot who said this, but someone said like this is like us as the audience waiting for the next person to judge, almost, the next person to watch.
No, it's like a similar ending to like The Irishman, like. Waiting on the open door, like.
But we don't see any audience members, so that's what I love.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I mean Frank Sheeran at the end.
When he's like leave the door open. He's like waiting for something.
No, I'm saying where you literally see like audience members like watching Yvonne walk out with the police, you know, and they're like almost like waiting for the next character to watch or something.
Okay.
No, yeah, but that's how the movie ends.
So the next person affected by the system, I guess.
Okay. But yep, that is L'Argent, the greatest movie ever made.
The greatest movie ever made.
Do you think so? Actually,
it's up there for me.
Okay,
it's a very up there for me.
Are we doing the, I guess, questions and ranking? I don't know if you have any questions.
I really don't have any questions. I mean, I guess the one question I asked is there anything, one feature? Because I mentioned a few topics obviously every week. Is there anything for you that sticks out for Bresson?
Honestly, like I the presentation versus reputation, like, is giving me like an interesting thing to think, like categorize movies and just think about movies in a more like interesting way, like and just like how to like categorize directors. It's like it's like a new like really fascinating way to do that.
It's a good like kind of category, a way to think about movies. Right. Is there anything for you, Blake?
The efficiency.
Efficiency, yes.
No, even there's movies now. Well, that I've been watching while we've been going through Bresson that are like 90 minutes, and even those movies, I'm just like, dude, you could like cut these, you could cut this down to like 70 minutes max. Like, come on, guys, we don't need all this shit in here. Like,
okay, there's some directors though.
I'm just saying.
Luke is always on the side. There's some good 2.5 Laws Ultravita.
Oh yeah. How do you know?
There are good long movies.
Thank you for saying it for me. I mean,
are there though? I kind of agree with
movies.
Celine Sciamma here.
Oh my god,
Sciamma.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've never seen one of her movies.
We should just not. Let's continue. Let's continue on.
The Chantel Lakerman. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Oh yeah, I just took 2 hours of someone's life. Yeah.
Let's go. Someone's life.
Let's go. Like, I want people to feel the time. I just took 2 hours, and she's like smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, it's
like,
so
oh
good.
My god, it's so good. Okay, let's go, Chantal. Okay.
All right.
I do love Chantal.
I love how you said efficiency too. No, but yeah, let's go to. Do you have your list ready?
I have my ranking ready. Of the 10 we watched here. I'm curious if you guys are gonna expect these. I think it's pretty expected from me. But number 10, A Gentle Woman. Number 9, Mouchette. Number 8, Diary of a Country Priest. Number 7, A Man Escaped. Number 6, Lancelot du Lac. Number 5, The Devil Probably. Number 4, Pickpocket. Number 3, Four Nights of a Dreamer. Number 2, L'Argent. And number 1, Ahsar Balthazar. Yeah.
Interesting.
Honestly, I would say like the top 4, like just like it's like those are like the top 4 on the list: Pickpocket, Four Nights of a Dreamer, L'Argent, and Ahsar Balthazar. Or like I would consider those like some of my favorite movies.
Wait, say those. Top 4.
Ahsar Balthazar, L'Argent, Four Nights of a Dreamer, Pickpocket are like all my favorite. Like I would consider them my favorite movies, probably. Like some of my favorite movies.
What about you, Blake?
So mine is. It was very hard. The first 6, or the top 6, are ones that I think are basically perfect, and I would watch again at any time. But like my list is structured basically like, since the first 6 to me are basically perfect, it's in order of like what I would probably rewatch the most.
Okay.
So my number 10, Diary of a Country Priest.
Oh, wow.
Number 9, A Gentle Woman. Number 8, Ahsar Balthazar.
Oh.
Number 7, Four Nights of a Dreamer.
But you did say the rewatch.
What? Okay, no,
That's crazy.
Number
Damn, this
6,
is insane.
The Devil Probably. Number 5, A Man Escaped. 4, L'Argent.
Oh, okay.
3, Mouchette. 2, Pickpocket. And 1, Lancelot du Lac.
Okay, that's like way different from mine, honestly. That's like a lot very
Yeah.
different. I was not expecting Lancelot du Lac to be number 1, honestly.
I love Lancelot du Lac.
Also, Balthazar a bit too low, though. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a rewatchability factor, honestly.
I don't know. It's pretty watchable. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, honestly, I was saying the Ahsar Balthazar I did not expect to be my favorite song.
Okay.
I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah.
It just like it like God.
Maybe it's the playtime aspect of it.
Well, I realized that afterwards. Honestly,
No.
like I didn't even realize
That is part of it's just the structure is like
it just hit me. It just hit me right where I needed it. Honestly.
All right, so I have mine ready.
Okay.
I'm calling my first tier like the S tier. This is the top tier.
Okay.
L'Argent,
Okay.
Four Nights of a Dreamer, A Man Escaped, The Devil Probably, Alpha Star Balthazar, and Diary of a Country Priest.
All his fucking movies.
1, 2, 3. Those 6. Those top 6.
Okay, rank them.
Those are the S tier. I cannot rank those.
What's number 1? What's number 1?
Number 1 is Diary of a Country Priest because that's the first one.
Oh my god.
The second one is A Man Escape because that came out after. And then the third is Balthazar. And then Four Nights and Devil Probably.
No, we can't accept
those
that.
top 6 are all equally great in their own ways.
No, they're not.
Because they all have something different to learn from, you know. But then this is where it's interesting. My A tier, which is not S tier, it's A tier, is Pickpocket, Mouchette, Lancelot, and Gentlewoman.
Honestly,
Trial of Joan of Arc is the last one I'm putting on.
That's my last
because I haven't
one
rewatched
too,
it yet.
That's my last one too, but I also haven't rewatched it.
I'm pretty set on those top 6 have to be in the same category.
But really, Pickpocket,
L'Argent is the greatest movie
insane.
ever made for me. So,
dude, Pickpocket and Lancelot du Lac were my top 2, and they were in Dane's A tier.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, honestly,
I like that.
I'm surprised you put Pickpocket in A tier. I thought you put that in S tier.
To me, I've been mentioning how I like L'Argent is almost like the better version of Pickpocket in some ways.
I kind of like they're kind of like they are two sides of the same coin, but I kind of like I love both sides.
I love Pickpocket. I mean, I give Pickpocket 5 stars. So
yeah, okay, actually, yeah. So you're basically it's
the ones 4.5 I gave were Mouchette, Lancelot, and Gentlewoman.
Yeah, the top 4 are probably gonna stay.
Mouchette, I think I need to rewatch a few times, and I'll get to 5. Gentlewoman, maybe if I get a better quality print, and Lancelot is.
Gentlewoman has stuck with me a lot more than I thought it would, and that's I almost put it above Four Nights of a Dreamer, honestly, but but that's only because I haven't seen Four Nights more than once, probably.
Four Nights is so good.
It probably
that's what I thought was going to be my favorite.
It probably has his most memorable scene. Amazing. Like the ship is probably the most memorable scene in a Bresson movie. The ship going by.
Maybe one of them. It's one of them. It's one of them.
It's the one that sticks out the most in my mind, at least right now. But
yeah,
I can see that.
That is Robert Bresson.
Bresson?
I would say this is the end of Bresson, but honestly, I did this series just so now that every time I bring him up, you guys will know what I'm talking about.
Just I bring him up all the time. Danny every episode is gonna bring up this sucks because Bresson did it better.
Yeah, Bresson would have shown this in one shot.
Yeah, it's I just bring
or maybe just a sound.
I mean, that's why Luke made us watch Fellini, or made me watch Fellini. Probably.
Oh, we're gonna watch Cassavetes, and it's gonna be a lot
half of the time.
I will say Cassavetes, from what I've seen, he's way more efficient, even if his movies are long. Versus Fellini is just a very efficient.
It's just so funny, the acting and the writing in Cassavetes is going to be such a jarring thing.
Were you not hearing what I said though?
Yeah, but I'm ignoring.
No, Cassavetes feels way more focused. I'll say that. But yeah, that can end our Bresson series with one of the maybe most focused director to ever live, in terms of just understanding what he's trying to do stylistically, but also at the same time just evolving over time. I think we've all I love how Blake said his 2 top movies were in my A tier because. It proves you could say Bresson's style is the same, like we've said with Ozu, but Bresson, all of his movies have different themes or different ways you could say a different life can go, all these different feelings attached with different ways life can go. But yeah, I feel like I've said my say throughout all this.
Yeah, anything else to get off your chest? Or?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Any quotes you forgot to say?
No.
Okay.
I was looking through.
Just want to make sure.
I have way more, but it would be way too long.
Yeah, we don't. We're
already throwing for 3 hours again. So.
You have to write a book again, or something.
Maybe I have to make a Doors video too. If you make one for Playtime,
or Tati. I'm doing Tati.
Yeah, if you do Tati, I could just do one for Bresson or something.
Honestly, we should.
But yeah. No, we'll definitely be talking about Bresson more in some way. But
yes, sir.
Until next time. Oh, wait, what are we doing next week?
70s draft.
70s draft, so, all right.
Let me draft.
Until next time, hope to see you floating through the clouds.